Oh, one more thing. I got to go live on what? Well, this is weird. I'm not getting the option to go live here. What's going on? One second. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. There we go. Rockfin's a little bit slow to see my feed. So we are live now on YouTube and on Rockfin.
Oh, my phone just said so.
Yeah. All right. So we have Angelica, we have Bron, and I think we have a special guest tonight. So I'm pretty excited. We'll see how it goes. I'll go ahead and let you all know. Joe Hill with F'd Up World is going to try to join us. So if he does,
nice.
I know Angelica would love it. And Bron, you don't have to be a Christian. It is just hearing him break down this from the Bible. It's pretty impressive, man. I thoroughly enjoy it. So yeah, anyone who has any interest in the Bible would enjoy it if Joe joins us. He said he's going to join, so we'll see. We've got Wendell Walton. We've got Moomem Writer. That's I don't think I've seen that one before. Moomem Writer and Brian Tall. Hello all. So Bron, if you want to say hello, introduce yourself.
I'm from the west coast of Canada. I originally was on the east coast, but not all the way on the water. I was in Ontario, but moved here maybe 8 years ago now, and I don't know. I feel like I already said a lot on the other stream, I guess, but I'm an electrician by trade. I got into flat Earth quite a long ago. I don't even remember the time or when or how. Like, it was always on the back of my mind, and I always was questioning it. And then, it's just been a very slow journey, and sometimes you dive deep, and other times it's just on the back burner for a bunch of years. And
all right. Well, today I'm going to try to be more involved in the conversation. So sometimes I will admit, and someone even said something. They said, Bobby, pay more attention to your guests. So I'm guilty of reading the comments, right? Like that is like, I want to see what everyone's saying and I want to respond to them. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you all talk. I'm going to, I'll be the comment guy, but
I'd love to have a little bit more notes ready. I'm always rushing home from work and I've yet to have any talking points. So then so I apologize for that.
Well, that's okay. We got in
half an hour late too, because I'm always leaving early to get you.
Yeah.
So rush.
So women are chatty, right? They're like this. So we got Angelica.
I've only got
so Angelica
scowl and then chatty.
Angelica, say hi to everyone. Let them know, what you're about, where you're from. Whatever you want to share.
Yeah. So I'm let me tell you where I am first. I'm in Washington State. So what part of Canada are you from, Bron?
Ontario. I was
How far away are we then? I'm about 45 minutes from the border.
When I was there, I was probably 4.5 hours from Windsor.
Nice.
So
all right.
An hour and a half from Toronto. If
we both stood on top of a high mountain near us, we could probably see each other since it's flat. Yeah. So that's where I am. I think it's 10 degrees today or something. We just got another cold snap. So I'm with you there in spirit. And so I think triangulated. I did a big hypotenuse of America. I started in Pennsylvania, then went down to Florida, then up to Washington. And so that was my journey. And I gathered friends and enemies along the way. But a good one that was unexpected was Bobby, of course, and this connection that has maintained through all the travels. It's amazing because, for instance, I would have never known you, Bron, from any other place. I would not have brought Bobby's friendships with me, our mutual friends up here. So I think regionally, this podcast amongst spreading truth connects people you know, when you go through, let's say, your social media page and you can't remember, is this an old friend or a new friend, or is this a friend where I live now, or I can't remember if they're in another country or whatnot. And this podcast has done some of that. I think I'm seeing names that I can't remember if I knew you or just know you. And yeah, it's nice bringing the world smaller.
Yeah, and here in Vancouver, it's super small because there's so many travelers. So one of the houses I lived in, we did Airbnb for a few years, and people would come use this room, and it's like you go in your kitchen and making your breakfast or whatever, and you're meeting different cultures and people from everywhere. So yeah, pretty spoiled to come here. My original town in Ontario, there was no tourists. It was just like a farm town. So yeah, it's really cool it's really good to meet people from all over for sure.
You're muted, Bobby.
Thanks for that. I was trying not to bang on my keyboard. So Effed Up World is going to be joining us. He's just waiting on his computer. I'm super excited about that. When he comes in, I'm going to let him take the helm because he's going to break it down for us. And I love watching his videos. This is going to be, if you haven't seen his channel, I think you're going to enjoy it. And just wanted to say to Mooman Ryder, who came over from Flatzoid, next time you're in Flatzoid's channel, tell him I said, what's up? Tell him I said, thank you. Tell him I said, I enjoy his content. I try to watch whenever I can. I do watch a good bit of his stuff. So that he releases, he's daily. He's on daily. So anyway, just wanted to give a shout out I always like to support any other Flat Earth channel. So yeah, Flatzoid. And of course, everyone, in my description, I try to give support to everybody. So I don't have any, I try not to have any favorites. I do have some favorites, but I try not to let it show. Because I think everyone has a different cup of tea.
It's okay to have favorites. So you know how as parents and as coaches, we're not supposed to have favorites or at least voice them. I go the complete opposite. For instance, in my kids' class yesterday, it's almost a habit now that the kids will be like, hey, who's your favorite? And I'll specifically point to a child and point to them and say, you are, in front of the other ones, just because that's how the world works. And so I think, Bobby, you can do it. You could just say you channel are my favorite. And then next time you can pick a new favorite, but it'll put some hair on the chest of, we can pick favorites.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. For those of y'all that
the
don't
world's
know,
a cool place sometimes.
Yeah. I like to brag a little bit on Angelica. She is a savage fighter. I've seen her beat up some people. Yeah. So I like to say she's a banger. She's a banger if you're not aware. So.
But Stewart would be like, no, don't say that, Bobby, mate.
Well, you got to know what it means, but yeah.
It's a bit of a small world. I just, yesterday after we streamed, I was, a friend of mine reached out of nowhere. Cause he's never even questioned this ever before. And he, all of a sudden he was talking about the balloon, and he was talking about the direction it went, and I'd have to reread how he described it, but he was like, that doesn't work. It's like, he was basically talking the flight path stuff, right? And so all of a sudden he was like going off and venting, and I was like, I was just on YouTube actually, like literally just talking about this. Not that exact thing, but yeah, he's like, I can't believe it. I'm tripping out. Cause he's like all of a sudden now questioning the earth. And then anyways, he asked what channel I was on, and I said about you, and I mentioned he's heavy into jiu-jitsu. He's been, I don't know how many, his whole life, I guess, but he goes, I don't know how many times a week. It depends on when he has a competition and stuff, but he's always, maybe, I'm going to guess 3 to 5 times a week. So that was kind of cool. I could share that with him too. It's like that same hobby. So the first channel he finds might be, you guys got that in common. That's cool.
I wonder if that's sort of a precursor then to logical thinking, because you can be, I call them knuckle draggers. You can be very stealthy in jiu-jitsu by being a knuckle dragger, just a big orangutan of a strength of a meat suit. But for the most part, good jujitsuers are logical thinkers, and A plus B is going to equal C at some point, and you just got to figure out how to get there. So maybe that was a good poll to see how many flat earthers are in some sort of logistical type of sport, or something where you have to think on your feet, but you also have to be smart.
Yeah, or like any kind of
yeah.
solo sport. Like I raced motocross for 10 years of my life all the time, and I've always liked, like, for example, snowboarding or like anything that's alone, like anything other than a team sport. So yeah, maybe flat earthers are people who aren't in a team sport, so they'd rather do things that are like you against your opponent. So
what
You,
we need to do a poll, Bobby.
It's interesting because you look and so in jiu-jitsu, it's a very what's the word for it? It's a very intellectual art, right? And you could argue it's more chess than physical, right? I do make that argument. I believe that. And if you look at the best jiu-jitsu players, look at Crone Gracie is a flat earther, Eddie Bravo is a flat earther, I'm a flat earther. What are the odds? So I just think that there are some similarities there.
Yeah, I never thought of that. I totally can see it though, because it's like that's I don't know if addicting is the word, but growing up, I liked playing lacrosse a bit, but I would never dedicate my life to it, where other things you put all your time into because it's like a personal thing.
Interesting. I think we need to do some sort of poll or questionnaire on that to see what maybe not people's careers, because oftentimes you're committed to a career that's not your heart song, but your passion. If you could list the top 3 things about yourself, 1, 2, 3, and how many of those fall into either an individualistic or a logistical type of. I couldn't imagine the biggest demographic of flat earthers being some liberal arts interpretive dance major or something like that. So it'd be interesting to know because obviously you're drawn to that thought process of this is going to work or this does not work.
Troubling Tribune says national champ wrestler and flat earther here.
Yeah.
Nice.
I used to train with a D1 wrestler who was ridiculous. Oh my gosh, that dude was one of the top D1 wrestlers in like Iowa State. His name is Mike DeBartolo, but that guy was a beast. Oh my gosh, man. We put some sweat on the mats.
DeBartolo was in my corner once.
Yep.
When I fought
think that was
in
the
North
time
Carolina.
I fought. Oh, okay, North Carolina. All right.
I think DeBartolo was only in my corner one time, and he taught me some things the night before the fight that I used immediately. Oh, wow. Where have you been my whole life? But yeah, that's
I called him retardalo.
To his face?
Yeah, we were friends, we joked on each other, but I always called him retardalo. So
good.
Anyway,
this the saying, what's it, from The Art of War, I believe it is, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And based on this this array of people that we're getting, we may have both, right? It sounds like there's quite a bit of underground warriors in the flat earth community, so in case stuff hits the fan, we could still go to blows, but we might have a good repertoire of gardeners and warriors all in the same people group.
Yeah, I think anytime you're a true earther, flat earther, I'm leaning towards true earther now, but anytime you're a true earther, you have that prepare for war mentality, right? Because you're like, usually you start to see a lot of very conspiratorial things, and then you start preparing, right? So both in the garden, like quite literally in the garden, and then sharpening the iron. So I had one fight, MMA. I think my first MMA fight, I was like 40 or something. I was just, but I've competed jiu-jitsu several times a year for 20 years.
You are a feared opponent. Enough that when people go against you, they prepare specifically for what they're afraid of about you. That seems cliche that you would prepare for an opponent, but sometimes people aren't well versed in anything enough for you to devote time to. You just train in a general manner across the board. But I know people that go against you specifically train for you, so you are a much feared opponent.
Yeah, and the guy I fought is an absolute savage. I mean, the dude was just a savage, right? Like, there's no shame in whatsoever. I mean, I take that L proudly. Anyway, that was my first fight, and it was like his, I don't know, 7th or 8th or something like that. So it was, I got in the ring, we mixed it up. I made it to the 3rd round, and didn't quite get out of the 3rd round, but it was a good fight.
Very cool. I mentioned your what would you call it, gym or club, or the Checkmate it's called, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, and my buddy was well aware of it. He says there's one in Vancouver. He says it's an amazing gym.
So he's confusing it with Checkmate, right? There's
He did say Checkmate.
Yeah.
He did say that. I thought he typoed. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. I came up with my name first, Checkmate, right? And it's a Portuguese spelling, but Checkmate came later, and it was more popular. It was just a bigger team, but yeah. There are 2 Checkmates, but still very small. But yeah, the reason I didn't step in the ring more, so I'll just, since Patty, I know this is getting off topic, but Patty said something, and I just wanted to say, like, I have 5 herniated discs in my back. I still spar. Sometimes it doesn't bother me at all. But before that fight, my discs went out. My lower back went completely out. And for like 3 or 4 weeks before the fight, I couldn't even roll. All I did is me and my wife would walk around the park. That's all I could do. I couldn't even run. If I ran, it hurt. So before that fight, for at least 3 weeks, all I did was walk around the park. I didn't spar. I didn't throw hands. I didn't do anything. My back was totally out. And I just said, I didn't want to be the guy to back out of a fight. I just felt like, man, no one was going to respect that. No one would believe the circumstances. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go in there and fight with a jacked up back. So I don't like saying it after the fact. It's like, it didn't hinder me, right? The only thing it hindered was my ability to have that's why my cardio was so terrible. That's why I almost died, right? Like, I needed oxygen after the fight. I was in no cardio shape whatsoever. I had zero cardio for that fight.
What I remember most about that, not most, I would say like top 5 that I remember for that fight, is how freaked out everyone was that Zach's leg was going to get ripped off and hung on a mantle as a trophy, because you had him in the most wicked heel hook for, it seemed like, minutes. And it was like, we were expecting to hear a pop come through
it cracked
through the cage.
We talked about it, and he said he limped. He said he was limping around. He just wouldn't tap from it, and I couldn't do heel hooks. So if I could have done heel hooks, I'm sure I would have pulled that out. But
that was a nail biter there.
Couldn't do heel hooks. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a fun time mixing it up. I have messed up discs. Yeah.
We could talk about injuries for a whole podcast.
Oh no, yeah, I'm gonna avoid it. Yeah, I don't want to. We'll try to stay on the nature. So who's got something new? Anyone got anything new they want to share?
I didn't mean in a bad way. I'm just saying it, but everyone here, I think everyone
imagine
with the sports we enjoy.
Imagine if you're a chiropractor, right? And you have something like you're trying to show your patient a herniated or a slipped disc, and you use the same models that the flat earth like debunkers try to use, and they use a circular, and then when they get to your slip disc, it's that flat one, and they're like, well, right, here's the problem. That would be professional. It only works in flat earth. It doesn't work in medicine.
David Barton said, put him in mission control. I love mission control. I play all of it. The truck, mission control, twister side control. I've been doing Eddie's game since like 07 or something, like way back. I adopted his game. Love every bit of it. But someone said research. Zamarath said research in the field telescopes. I've got a P1000. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Guys, it's getting ready to be on.
Can you hear
Joe
me?
Hill. Holy cow, the man, the myth, the legend.
How are you?
Good.
How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
We hear you fine.
Cool. I'm just figuring out how to get back on my computer here. So, jujitsu and all that stuff, crazy. Or all that stuff that you do. That's something everyone should probably know, but I don't. So how are you guys doing?
Good.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to this, man. One thing I want to hear about, though, I kept saying I was going to ask you about this when I come on. When you came on, is so how did you end up going to lunch? First off, I don't even was that a real photo? You and McToon?
Oh yeah, that was real.
Yeah.
We went to a place in Osseo for lunch. I put out a video quite a while ago, and it was a challenge to, I don't know if it was just to him or if it was to maybe a few or anybody, but I think it was maybe just to him. Because I get so many comments on my channel, and I'm sure you do too, about the star rotation, and people think they don't understand what's going on in the stars apparently, and they think that in the southern hemisphere that the stars rotate a different direction than they do in the south, and they don't. And all that they're doing is they're turning themselves, because you have to, if you want to see
the moon.
If you want to see the axis of rotation, if you're in the southern hemisphere, you can't look north because you're too far away from it. You have to look south, and then you'll see them going clockwise. But they're still rising in the east and setting in the west. And so if you turn yourself around, what would you expect to see? You'd expect to see you can do that anywhere in the world. You can, right here in Minnesota, I'm at like 45 degrees. Polaris is right there in the sky. So when, I guess anywhere that you are, if you look north, you're going to see counterclockwise rotation. If you look south, you're going to see clockwise rotation. And that's anywhere. Southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere, it's the same. So that's what my challenge was to MC Toon, because I think what it was I was in his chat on one of his videos, and he said that, or someone in the chat or something, they were, you know how they rip on you, but they were ripping on me, say, you don't even know what the stars are doing or whatever. And I'm like, I actually have spent a lot of time looking at the stars in the last 10 years or whatever. And I do understand their motion and what they do. And so I put a challenge out to MC Toon. I said, borrow my P1000 or my P900. And he ended up taking the P1000, but borrow that because he was going out of town or something to Florida, I think, or on a vacation or whatever. And I said, borrow my P1000. When you have it, no matter where you are, tell him to do star trails facing south. And because he lives right, maybe he lives less than an hour from where I'm at. And so I'm saying, do it right in your yard. You'll get the same thing that I get here, 45-minute drive away or whatever. And I said, and then, once you find out that little argument that people always bring up is just showing that they don't actually understand what the stars are doing, then maybe say that to those people that listen to your channels, because they're all misunderstood about it.
Yeah.
And so when we went to lunch, and he's a nice guy. I mean, I've debated him a couple times on his channel, or had a conversation, or whatever you want to call it. But he's a nice guy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Is he ever condescending in the debates? Kind of.
Oh, well, I think people have confidence, and I'm not gonna say I don't or whatever, but he's confident in a lot of things that he might not understand. And I'm not saying that I'm any different, but if you go to my channel, I have a video that's called MC Toon Teaches Me About Dark Matter. And you might want to watch that one, because he was like kind of laughing at me. That's not what dark matter is. And I'm like, I understand. I don't even believe in it, but I understand what they say it is. And like you've heard of gravitational lensing, and the like dark matter is it when you look through it, like out into space or whatever, it looks a lot like you're looking through water. It distorts it bends the path of the light, they say, and so it distorts the image that we see when we look out that far. And it's like really obvious that it's distorting the image, but he goes, no, it doesn't change anything about how we see it. And I'm like, how could you even say that? That's all it is. It's like nobody knows what they think it is, but we know that the only way that we have ever like detected it is by looking long distances and noticing that the light bends around things or it gets distorted. But anyway, so but it's they laugh and get their good laughs in, and I like I've been on Fight the Flat Earth channel for quite a few debates, I think. But I gotta say this. I don't care who's debating. I don't care how they treat me, or like you saw the one with DITRH and Professor Dave. Keep doing that, Professor Dave. Keep doing that. Because that's what's going to show people that there's nothing left for them to grasp onto. And with the more time that goes on, we are learning ourselves. We're learning so much, which is interesting because the Book of Enoch actually says that would happen at one point in time, that there'd be this selected group of people at the end that would be, how did it word it? They would be taught the sevenfold doctrine of the whole creation. They would be revealed at the end how the creation worked, how which is interesting. I mean, it also said that. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no. So, okay. So as to put myself in that category of people that do not understand how the stars work, obviously I can observe, and typically I find my train of thought going off into the more the sensational part of it, just because I'm sure where you live too, if you're north enough, the sky is so entrancing and mystical that I'll look for a specific pattern for me to observe long enough, but before long I'm just enamored by how sparkly everything is, and
huge it
and
is.
and how huge it is. And so I haven't really had the ability to stay on thought long enough. And so are you of the school of thought, and I'm asking because I haven't been able to witness it through to its logical conclusion yet, of that all the stars follow the same path, or is there a main path, such as the ones that have stayed in their domain, and then the ones that left their domain, where they're all on a main path, and then there's smaller circles inside of that?
Yes.
Have you?
I think you have probably the same understanding that I did, because you were talking about the seven that they didn't go the right path, and then all the other stars, which is like I don't know how many, but all the other stars went what I consider to be like their ordained path, like God ordained,
predictable
them. Yeah, and I think
okay,
astronomy would call those the fixed stars, like the fixed stars. And what happens is, anywhere you point a camera in the sky, you'll get a circle. If you do like star trails, you'll get a circle until the horizon. So like there's a center point in the north and in the south, and the whole sky turns around that center point all together, all at once. And so we can only be in one place at one time, so we can only see it from one place. So it might look different. Like the ones above you, they are doing a circle, but you might not be able to see that whole circle, because it basically, they're called circumpolar stars. So if you look, for me, Polaris is at 45 degrees from the horizon. So if I look at any star that's within 45 degrees of Polaris, I'll be able to see that circular path that it does. But the fixed stars, which is all the stars except for the planets, they all move together all in one motion. And the sun and moon, they move at a slightly different speed than the fixed stars. And the planets, they move on their own. They do their own thing. Thomas Morgan is in the chat. He said Jude 1, and he said Enoch 93:10. Those are they talk about this. Enoch chapter 8, he said, I think it said like in the day of the, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it said that the whole order of the stars would be concealed from the sinners. And the thoughts of those on the earth would err concerning them.
That was
here we are talking
blowing.
about flat Earth.
Yes,
and
when I read that, I was like, that was the clincher for the Book of Enoch. As a someone researching flat Earth, and I read that, and it said it would be concealed even from the elect, or that blew my mind. Real quickly, Joe. Danielle Mayer said she's brought it up several times. She doesn't understand how there can be a center point other than Polaris. You want to take that, or I can take it? You want to field it?
Well,
she's talking about the southern star point.
If it, like, I live in Minnesota, I'm in the northern part of the U.S., like pretty much real close to the border, I guess, compared to how big the country is. And for me, and anyone that, like for MC Toon, he lives by me too. If he looks up at the sky, Polaris is the northern it's the axis of rotation or whatever. So everyone will see that, like in Minnesota here, we'll see it at 45 degrees. And if I drive down towards Florida, it drops because we're going farther away from it. So it gets closer to the horizon. If you keep going, like let's say you're at the equator, and let's face east at the equator. And so we're going to see the sun rise. We're going to see all the stars coming up from the horizon at the equator if we're looking east. Now, to our left is I'm going to get turned around here. Our left, I'm doing it backwards in my house here. So left would be north, if I'm right on that. But so right would be south. And if you looked to your left, you're going to see Polaris like right on the horizon. And if you look to your right, you're going to see almost the exact same thing that you see on your left, but it'll be what they call the Southern Cross, or the southern axis of rotation. So the whole sky is doing, depending on where you are, north and south. That's what's so interesting about, like, I don't, think any flat Earth map is like perfect or anything like that, but the idea that there's a center point of the Earth, and that this southern, to me, it proves that the sky is going like this. It's circling around. And if you're in the south and you look south, you're looking at the same point in the sky that someone else looking south is, no matter where you are. So like if where you guys are, if you look south and I look south, I'm in Minnesota. I don't know where you guys are, but we're going to be looking at the same direction. And we could be 1,000 miles apart. So during the time when it's daylight and when it's night, that southern point is the same no matter where you are. And so I don't understand quite how the map works, but I don't think there is really a map that will work or does work. But
there's not an echo, right? There's no echo right now, right?
I don't hear
no echo.
Sure. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, good. Let me just show this for Danielle. I don't know if you've seen this. I've seen it on several channels. But if you take a hemispherical dome, and you, this is Good Times for All channel, but Darren's done it as well. And this is what the dome does at the end. So I think that this explains the southern star trails. I'm gonna fast forward. He explains lots of things, but he's kind of simulating those star trails using a piece of paper under this hemispherical dome. And what he's going to show is how it creates this dot, right? So 1 second, let's watch this. Here you go. Watch this now. If you're going to see that by rotating that paper at the southern end of the hemispherical dome, it will take any random star and turn it into a southern polar star. It'll just grab any star. It'll grab any star and turn it. It'll put it in the center. And he shows this. So first he shows how you get the southern concentric circles, but then he shows how what happens is, due to perspective, you're going to get stars that condense down to a dot, and then that dot looks like a southern star trail. That's why you can see it anywhere. He's got some really good videos.
I think I see what she's asking. She said, I still don't get it. If the firmament is rotating. See, and I have some comments about that, but I just lost her comment. Where did that go? Oh, here it is. If the firmament is rotating, everything in the southern hemisphere should look like shooting lines. In a dome, only the center doesn't move. And that makes sense, Danielle, but
perspective.
Is the firmament like is it like an ice cube and the star is frozen in the ice cube as the firmament turns, or are the stars on their own freely moving within the firmament? Think of it that way. The stars are what's moving. Now the firmament, or what like Austin Witzett's been talking about a little bit, is like the idea of the ether or whatever. There's light. Like, look at all the lights in the sky. Every one of the lights in the sky moves about 15 degrees per hour in the sky. So I don't know why the people are always like, thanks, Bob. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, Bob, for showing us something that we didn't understand about how light works. Because you're using a ring laser gyroscope, which is literally light, and you're playing with light by using, reflectors and splitting it and timing it, and you're finding that light moves just in general. It moves about 15 degrees per hour. That's pretty awesome. That it says nothing about the ground. The ground that you set the ring laser gyroscope on has to be still, otherwise the ring laser gyroscope won't work. Come on. Like it'll work for positioning, like in a wing or something. Can't have it bouncing around in the wing, like, and it's designed for. It's not designed to pick up the rotation of the Earth. That's just convenient, I think. But,
yeah.
But yeah. So the stars, it's something that I don't know everything about them, but we do know that we make observations everywhere in the world. So, the one thing I told MC Toon was, because he says, I understand. I told him that we don't observe the Earth rotating. We observe the stars rotate. Clearly, the sky or the stars are rotating. And he said, no, I've observed the stars rotating. I mean, the Earth rotating, he said. And I said, no, you haven't. And he said, I observed the stars rotating, and it makes sense to me that that's the Earth rotating. I'm like, so you didn't observe the Earth rotating?
That is like, it seems the conundrum, when you have something in your eye, like a speck of dirt or a splinter, you can't look at what's in your eye because it's coming from your eye. And so, that's, it seems to me that what he's trying to say is I'm observing the speck in my eye without assistance from some mirror or some other device reflecting that back to me. You can't see with your eye that there's something in your eye. He's on the Earth. He can't observe the Earth rotating. He's seeing a reflection of something.
And then, that kind of brings up another thing, is like a ridiculous thing. And Bobby, I think you talked about this probably more recently than not, about someone says to me all the time, you hear this, someone maybe that has not even thought about this debate more than a minute, and then they're like, oh, I want to talk about it right away, and they say, well, if Earth was flat, then you should be able to see Spain from the East Coast. You should be able to see Mount Everest from anywhere in the world. And I'm like, you just haven't thought about that at all before you said any of that, because Craig from Fight the Flat Earth told me that from that you should be able to see the mountains like in California from Hawaii.
Right.
The earth was flat. And I'm like, how many miles is that? It's like, what, 1,800 miles? I don't even know, but you can't see that far. I drive in to Minneapolis or to past Minneapolis, and there's this bridge I go over, and you get this sweet view. Someday I'll take a video of it while I'm driving, but because that's safe. But I get this view of the Minneapolis skyline from about 10 miles away. And most days it's just a black silhouette. And I'm like, that's only 10 miles. And some days you can't see it, obviously, if it's a little bit thicker air, you can't see it. And then there's only been like a few days where you can actually maybe see the details of the buildings, because it's quite a ways away. I like that what Andrew just said, by the way. That's true. And I know that's not like your focus of your platform and all that, but I do, Bobby, I love what you're doing. Your stuff is entertaining. Like, you're very good at, what was the video you just did? I commented on it. It was awesome.
The trolling, NASA trolling the masses, that one?
Yeah. That was, I just love the way that your attitude was on there. You're like, oh yeah, just touch it a little bit more. Touch, that's where where everyone in here goes. Just touch it. And like, I've made some videos like that, but just your commentary was almost like, yeah, we've seen this so many times. And like, it was kind of like, it was great. I loved it. That was awesome.
What was oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I would go ahead.
I was just a super short one was I remember, speaking of how far we can see, I remember it was grade 3 or 4, and the teacher was talking about that we can't see forever, and my question was, then how do we see the stars? And but that's just its schooling system even saying we can't see forever. But yeah
well,
no,
and NASA,
go ahead, Bobby.
Well, I was gonna say, and NASA would tell you just by their admission with the Hubble ultra deep field, that there are trillions of stars we cannot see unless right. Obviously that's all garbage, but by their own admission, there's massive stars in their heliocentrical lie that would be 100 times larger than our sun that we can't see because it's too far away. And it's not. Yes, how far away it is a factor, but at the same time, how luminous it is a factor. You have the inverse square law.
But to interrupt, but look what Brenda just put in the chat. FTFV is right though, Eft. So you should be able to see the mountains in California from Hawaii if the earth is flat. Brenda, I got a task for you, if you would. Can you Google and get back to us and let me know how many miles it is from, we'll just say California to Hawaii, because I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot of miles, a lot further than you'd be able to see through any kind of air in any conditions. So anyway, sorry.
I mean, even when you go and look at the, weather.com, you've got one of the things that's right on the weather.com is visibility, right?
Yeah. 17 miles or something.
Yeah. So, that's not uncommon to be 6 to 15 miles or something like that. I mean, just particles in the air. The atmosphere itself is dense and hazy. Good point. Perspective as well.
I'm sure some of you guys that are in the north, I don't know about you, Bobby, because I know you're also adventurous, even though you're not north, but I don't know how many of y'all have tried spear fishing before, but that will make a fool of anyone who thinks that they have good aim, because, you look at the fish and you're like, I'll spear that, but you've got to, account for that. That's not exactly where the fish is. And so maybe Brenda can go on top of whatever this mountain he's wanting to see, and we see if there's like that same effect as when you're spearfishing. You look into the water, but there's obvious distortion. You would think. I don't know. I can't think of any atmosphere that contains any type of water molecules that's not going to have some sort of visibility issue when it's condensed over a length of space.
So, Thomas, I brought something interesting up in the chat. I don't know if you saw that yet, Bobby. He said, talk about, or where was it here? Tell them about the place that Enoch went where he saw no heaven above and no firmly founded earth beneath. It's like, okay, so he did go to this place that in chapter 18. But before that, can I read you guys some? Okay, like
Yeah.
I'm a flat earther. Let me just make that known before I read. I just want to read something to you guys. It's in Enoch chapter 45. I'm not trying to like say all this Enoch stuff, but this stuff it's something that Enoch was told was going to happen at a certain point in time. And I think it's happening right now. Like, I think it's a big deal. But
I tell
go ahead.
people all the time, my eschatology is I believe we're at the end of days, right? Like I believe
I do too.
It's imminent. Like it's so imminent that I'm almost trying to get fired from my work. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I'm ready to just spend my last dollars, just like whatever, go live in South America or the Philippines. So.
And you're not going to zip your lip either. You're like, I'm going to say the truth. And the inspiration of that, to me, that comes from heaven. That's not of you. That's not you deciding, hey, this is so important that I want to do this. It's that you're inspired by God. I'm just being blunt.
Yeah.
You're inspired by. I could say the same thing to Jaron, and he might not believe the same way that I believe or something, but he's inspired by God to talk about the truth.
Yeah,
that's actually something that I know it's controversial or whatever, but Thomas Morgan knows it, and because we've talked about it before. Jesus did say that if those who are of the truth hear his voice. So, sometimes we have to critically analyze who God is or if the Bible is true or these kinds of things. And some of us don't feel as much like we have to, but maybe it's very important for Jaron to do what he's doing. And I'm just trying to say that people need to stop judging who they think he is and what they think he's doing, because I would totally disagree with him, but so would Austin Whitsitt on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But
I say the same thing.
Listening to Jaron. I don't
I say the
agree
same
with him.
thing. I think that
on a lot of things, but I like him.
I think he's doing more good than anything.
He's making people think too.
Yeah. He's putting them on the right road. I don't care.
And he's actually doing what the Bible says is he's testing all things. He's like, that's one thing that there's, we'll get to that maybe, but something else about who our enemy really is and who we're really fighting this war against, or if we're engaged in a debate, is that just a debate about some physical material part of the earth that we think we can know, or is there more going on? I think there's a lot more going on, and I don't think that it's people like any of us or anyone that we know that's doing the lying. And that might be hard for. Oh, go ahead.
No, you finish. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just saying that's a hard way to think about it, because it's like a different way of thinking about it. But what if we see this truth, and what if we see this truth because we were shown it? We were shown it, or we were caused to research it and look into these things or whatever. But we have a different outlook on what the whole creation is, what the whole world is. And it just, like you were saying, Bobby, are we in the end of days? Well, something that Jesus said that would happen, he said, this gospel of the kingdom, the very thing he preached. So I do question, this gospel of the kingdom would be preached in all the world as a witness, and then the end would come. And so that's what he said to his disciples when they asked him what would be the sign of the end. He said, don't be deceived. Like, that was the first thing he said. Don't let anyone deceive you. Like, so let's try not to be deceived, guys. If we're believing the Bible, and then now others people are pointing out that the Bible clearly says that the earth is still. And the Bible clearly doesn't talk about a globe. It talks about a circle. And a circle is a flat shape. And the way that it talks about everything that it talks about, it has pillars. It has a foundation. It's not even possible to have a sphere It just doesn't make any sense. But
To
we're
have a
talking
sphere,
about
you
this, and a
have
lot of
to.
people still doubt it. Go ahead, Angelica. I'm sorry.
Oh, I say, yeah, you have to make an allegory so many things to make it work on a sphere. As
Yeah.
you both were talking about the different, I'm going to say big hitters in the flat Earth community, I do believe in one sense, and it's two sides of the same coin essentially, but I do believe that these factions, I would say not hostile towards each other, but each of those names that you mentioned take their groups off into one type of trail or not. There has to be, in one sense, there has to be unity, and there is, and I'm talking both flat earth and biblical in the same sense. We are told to be unified, but in not in a conglomeration of proximity, not in the same
And
building,
not to
not in the same
flex,
city.
not to like
Exactly.
bend our whatever convictions or whatever, because to get along with someone.
Correct.
I choose not to, I choose, like, if I had a conversation with Jaron, I'm sure we would talk about things we disagree about, and I would be fine having a conversation about it. But at the same time, what's the one thing that every one of us says? Earth's not a globe. Earth
Right.
is not a globe.
Exactly. And,
like,
so
that's a unity right
yeah.
there. Even the
That
people that
is.
don't get along and they have their beefs and stuff. It would be nice if they could just say, well, hey, we figured this one thing out. Let's just roll with that and be friends, you know?
I know, like,
right. And when, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's frustrating because like 10 of my favorite channels are beefing, right? Like I hate that. P-Brain, Jaronism, Flatzoid, Nathan Oakley. It's like you got all it's frustrating because it's like some of these voices are so powerful and we're working against each other.
I got to give it up to Jaron. He's always, and every time I've ever seen him talk about anybody else, it's in response to someone talking about him. He doesn't go and, I've never seen him go and make a point about another person unless they've already kind of made a video about him or said something about him or whatever. And so, to his credit, you know.
Oh, and say the unity thing too, and again, you have to think of it in two ways, because, you know, what do you call it? Not an imposter. When you take a piece of artwork and you do the fake one, what is that called?
Like forgery.
Right? Yeah, like that. They're so close to each other that you have to be able to discern between the tiniest details. And when you think of what we were warned against, unity as in numbers and population, was Nimrod and the Tower of Babel, right? We were told to scatter lest we become one, right?
Yeah.
You know, God told us to scatter, and Nimrod's like, no, let's all stay together. And look what happens. And when you think of the going out of true information, we're always told to do that in groups of two. Wherever there's a witness, there's a two. And so in part, I find comfort in these divisions as far as this group, that group, that group. As long as the purpose is unified, I feel more uncomfortable when people are all in one big room, one big church, one big community of population.
Like a cult, then.
Exactly, because they're unified in numbers, lest we be scattered, when we were told specifically to scatter. And I know there can be a diamond in the rough of sorts, you know, some things have to be polished as far as maybe manners or what have you. But honestly, the way we are in the world today, I'd rather have a rough around the edges kind of person verbally than someone who's just appeasing of their words with a serpent hiss behind their words. And so these different groups, I find an excitement in that, because I find that they're doing better work, more work of unity of thought and purpose, rather than unity in politeness and we're all around the same potluck, but that we're the Nimrod of gathering. I'd rather have that than a Babel.
Bringing up Babel, that's a huge deal. When God came down, it's what he said that blows me away. That because he came down and he said, let us confound their language. But he said, look at, he said, they're all of one language and one tongue and words of union. And look at this is what they do. like, I think he was showing the angels or something. He's like, this is what they do. And so then he confounded the language. But what he said was, he said, now nothing would be restrained from them that they imagine to do.
Mhm.
Nothing.
Which is
And when I'm
breaking
like-
the glass dome.
Yeah, I'm like, did they imagine to go to the moon? Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
kind of says something. I'm not saying they went to the moon, but Enoch gives me the idea that they, and this is why, you know, when Paul said we don't struggle against flesh and blood, the people working at NASA and SpaceX building rockets, they're flesh and blood guys. So what I'm trying to bring up, and it's not like a debate topic for me. It's more of a, have you thought about it this way? Because the Apostle Paul, however, caused me to think about just something in a different way. And when I did, I was like, we're all doing this. We're all thinking about this wrong. Like, we know this deception it's the most powerful deception that anyone's ever heard of. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, by far.
So far that it's
Yeah.
generationally, I mean, your parents and their parents would argue with you, right? They'd debate again. Well, we're on a ball. Well, that's not people hiding that. That's other things. And I get this idea from, like, it's from the Apostle Paul. Apparently, when he was alive, he went up. He said, I think he worded it strange in Corinthians. He said he knew a man who 14 years ago went up to the third heaven. I think he said.
Yeah.
He wrote about that. But what when he went up there, he was told that some of the things he was seeing and hearing, or some of the words that he was hearing, were unlawful to be spoken in the world, on the earth. They were, no one can know these words. And apparently he knew these words. And the angel, so apparently he had a house, the Apostle Paul, and a person after the Apostle Paul died, a person living in that house woke up in the middle of the night to an angel telling him, dig up the foundation of the house and you'll find a book, and you have to publish it. Now, this is like getting kind of crazy, but it's what's in the book that proves it to me. But so the guy thought it was a dream, and the angel came back again, and he ended up like having to beat the guy, like, get up and go dig the foundation. And the guy found this marble box wrapped with lead, like sealed in lead, and the Apostle Paul's shoes that he preached the gospel in. And he was scared to open whatever the box was. So he sent it to, like, and this is like, I don't remember the emperor, whoever it was. And that guy was also scared to open it. So he sent it to another king or whatever. And he opened it, made a copy of it or whatever. So there's a couple copies of it. And in this, Paul's like, he talks about when he went up to the third heaven. He describes everything about it. And this book is amazing. It's called The Vision of St. Paul the Apostle. And so it starts out where it's like, these words were not to be uttered until a time.
Is that book part of the Apocrypha? Or, like, I'm curious, where did
I think it is. It's called The Apocalypse of Paul in some cases, I think.
I haven't read that.
Yeah, the
now,
Vision of
now I'm going to
St.
have to.
But I've read it on my channel, and I'll tell you what. He talks about, he goes up to it's a crazy, crazy, crazy book. Like, I couldn't even say enough about it. But he goes up into the firmament. This angel takes him up. He's like, I got to show you these things, or I was sent here to show you, to bring you up and ascend to the third heaven, show you the paradise, and show you some other things. So they go up to the firmament, and he's like, up to the first heaven or something. And the angel says, look back on the earth, or from the firmament. He told him to look back on the earth. And Paul told some things. Then from the heaven above the firmament, he said, look back on the firmament. And Paul's like, oh, I see. Or he was describing what he saw there. And he's like, in the bottom of the firmament, there was, what did he say? He said, an evil that deceives and draws down to itself the hearts of men. And then he named all these evil spirits and everything. That's what's in the firmament. Like at the dark part of it, the dark part of the firmament. And I'm like, okay, so we've all heard of hell, right? Or the bottomless pit. Well, the firmament, I don't think the firmament is a bottomless pit, but the solar system is a bottomless pit. If you think about it, everything that's exists in the solar system, like Earth would be going around the sun. Now this is all made up. This is what these false gods they've drawn our hearts to them by looking like places. And in Enoch, it even says they take these forms to defile mankind. They assume many different forms. So I like to compare it with like if you take a lion or a tiger and you put it in 1 acre with a fence, it's just going to sit and walk around the fence all day. Like, get me out of here. But if you make that up to like 100 acres and you can't really even see the fence from a lot of the places, the lion's not going to walk the fence. Maybe when he finds it, he would, but he's not going to walk the fence. He's not worried about it. But as soon as he finds that fence, and humans, we're the same way, and you know it. As soon as we started to fly, we set our sights higher and higher. Now we've set them higher than Nimrod did in the Tower of Babel. Nimrod was building a tower to go to in the book of Jasher, it talks about 3 different kinds of like wicked hearts that these people had. And they all wanted to go up there and replace God or kill God, or place their own gods there and serve them. I'm thinking of satellites, this idea of things floating around above us that kind of serve us. Like, think about it. And that place up there is actually, it's a place of darkness. That's exactly where Paul said to the Ephesians, he said that we're not struggling against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and the rulers of the darkness of this world, the rulers of the night. And then he said spiritual wickedness in high places, or like in the Greek words, it says cosmic powers of evil in the heavenly realm. So I see the place they call space, or I should just say the solar system. Everything in the solar system is falling around something else. It's literally like in a state of free fall. Like the Earth would be in a state of free fall around the sun, and the moon would be in a state of free fall around the Earth. And that's how orbits work. So low Earth orbit has become something, to me, that's described many times, many places in the Bible, many places. One example is in Zechariah 5. He sees a flying roll, and he gives the size of it, and the angel tells him that this is the curse that goes over the face of the whole earth. So when I think of the face of the whole earth, what could go over the face of the whole earth? Like, that would be flying, right? Or actually in Daniel, he said the same thing. He saw a he-goat that was moving over the face of the whole earth without touching the ground. So I'm like, okay, we have to think of the Tower of Babel and what God said, nothing will be restrained from them that they imagine to do. And I just see, like you were saying, Bobby, the end of days, we can see these things happening.
Yeah.
And I don't
Can you
believe,
guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I don't believe there's any
Okay,
coincidence
sorry.
either that, May 14th, 1948, with the reestablishment of Israel was just within the same year as Roswell. Like, just a coincidence, it seems like those gates to the end were opened at the same time, one slightly before the other, but both of those are countdown clocks in essence. The reinstatement of Israel is a countdown clock, and I think we're towards the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 of that, and then to establish that that get out of jail free card with aliens and whatnot, which obviously we're seeing a resurgence of that in the media, which we know the media is just a clown show, but still they're not going to convince us because we know better, but we can see the script that they're playing to convince everyone else. And it's so much about extraterrestrial, whatever it is, in whatever form of fashion, whether it's a balloon or a military file that's just now been. So both of those clocks are converging into a 3-2-1 of essence. And yeah, it's no coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, for me, in my head, we're down to two events, right? You've got the rebuilding of the temple on the mound and the abomination of desolation. Like that's all. That's it. I'm waiting. That's all I'm waiting on. Looks like we lost. I'm sure he'll be back. But man, that was great. Joe's on a roll, man. He didn't even talk about any of this stuff I thought he was going to talk about. But here we go. We got him back.
I don't know what happened about that. Sorry about that.
We heard you right up to the point. You said, "Can you hear us?" It was like, "Yeah, we can hear you."
I could hear Angelica was like cutting out, or it was like stopping a little bit, so I was having a hard time hearing what you were. Where you?
Oh no, that was real. I just been working on my beatbox.
Oh, is it okay? You need to work a little more on it. I'm just kidding.
I was trying.
Yeah. So, can I read? Because this is like one of the most interesting things. I want to read you guys just a couple verses.
Yeah.
Because this
absolutely
blew my mind. Okay.
Yeah. I think that'll push all the demons out of the chat. So
yeah. Okay. So in the book of Enoch, it talks about like basically I don't even know. I'm just going to read it. It's better.
Yeah.
Okay. This is chapter 45, verse 1. And this is the second parable concerning those who deny the name of the dwelling of the holy ones and the Lord of spirits. So I want to make sure we all understand what that's saying. So this is concerning those who deny the name of the dwelling of the holy ones. So like there's a lot there, but that's saying that, okay, where do the holy ones and the Lord of spirits dwell? They dwell in heaven above the earth. That's clear, right? So this parable is concerning those who deny heaven. So when I realized that, because I was kind of thinking it was saying they denied the Lord of spirits, but then when I really looked at the words, I'm like, no, it's talking about they deny the name of the dwelling of the holy ones and the Lord of spirits. So it says, verse 2, it says, and into heaven they shall not ascend, and on the earth they shall not come. Such shall be the lot of the sinners. So it's calling them sinners. And it says, who have denied the name of the Lord of spirits, who are thus preserved for the day of suffering and tribulation. Okay, so we're going to end up reading this whole chapter, but it's only 6 verses. But okay, so then it's talking about something that I think is happening now. It says, on that day, my elect one shall sit on the throne of glory and shall try their works, and their places of rest shall be innumerable, and their souls shall grow strong within them when they see mine elect ones and those who have called upon my glorious name. Then I will cause my elect one to dwell among them, and I will transform the heaven and make it an eternal blessing and light. Now listen to this, you guys. And I will transform the earth and make it a blessing, and I will cause my elect ones to dwell upon it. But the sinners and evildoers shall not set foot thereon. If you got that the way I did, are we being able to see before it even comes? Are we able to see the kingdom of God coming down out of heaven from God? What I'm saying is, like, this is a huge thing that I'm kind of like thinking, is it possible that we happen to be the ones that Jesus was praying about in John 17 that he would send out into the world. And then he said that he would pray, or he also wasn't only praying for them. He said he was also praying for anyone that would believe on him or believe in him because of their words. They received his words. He sent them out into the world. To me, that's huge. Where I think we've been called to go out into the world to talk about the creation, because that's like the glory of God, like his creation. If you grew up thinking that this was all just, just happens and this is nothing special, when we all really know that we're all very special. Like we're all, both the physical part of us is amazing. I mean, what a machine we live in, You couldn't build anything of this technology ever. Only God can, And then the mental capacity we have to remember, have memories. We have a future, a past, and a present. These are complex things, and it was like it was designed this way. But if you don't think that, then you probably believe in space, this outer darkness of where there's literally an empty void, where everything in that empty void is in a perpetual state of free fall, falling around something else. So they say that's our future, when it is their future, if they believe that. That's, to me, like, if I would say, listen to what Enoch's saying and just consider, what if this is him transforming the earth and causing us to dwell there, but it's all kind of up here. It's not like, I think the earth is flat, but 10 years ago I wouldn't have told you that. So I know it though. So I don't know. That's, to me, I just love that. But
that's deep. I mean, you can see it in the elites, right? They all, who do they worship? Everything, Lucy in the sky with diamonds. They worship those stars and they worship those things that are
just like in the book of Acts. Now
are in
here's
the darkness.
Now here's the thing: is that we've all heard about like the one world religion, right? Or the one world, or that is the globe and space. That is the solar system, and this what we were taught about planets and all being places. That's not what God made. God made a bunch of stars, and then 7 of them didn't obey what he said. 7 of them. And so he put them in a prison of darkness, and we call it space. Like, that's scary. So there's something to consider, though. And I'm not trying to act as if I know everything or something, but this just my point of view is that I'm just trying to share. But what if, because Bron, by the way, I enjoy you being around. Like, I just have fun listening to you guys. But let's just consider one thing. You saw those lights up in the sky. And I think in the chat yesterday, you made it clear to me that was, you were seeing something like burning up, kind of like a meteor does or whatever, I think, right?
I have no idea what it was.
Okay.
I actually, I'd have to figure out what year it was. I can assume the month because I'm trying to think of the weather, but I think it might have been 2018. I'm going to have to go through a bunch of photos to find it, but one of these I should find it. And then just share it. Yeah.
Does it?
I've seen some of those recently.
Yeah, you can see them all the time because they're launching those things all the time. Now, people say they're on balloons and all that. I don't agree with that myself. I think if you actually witness them yourself, your heart skips a beat because it's very intimidating to see that taking over the sky.
Yeah, I just walked away from the group of people to take a leak in the bushes, and I saw it, and part of me wanted to turn around and say, "Hey, look at that!" But I instantly just grabbed my phone and I was just speechless.
That's good that you grabbed your phone, just because I probably wouldn't have thought about it. I would have been like, "Oh, I forgot I'd take a video."
And then I heard other people from like another fire down a bit, and I heard some other people like, "Well, like it wasn't just me." Well, yeah, I got.
Yeah. Well,
I gotta find it.
The ones that you saw, were they more of a projectile down or up? Because the ones that I saw, they were it was a weird curve.
They were going completely in line, like
It'll appear to
they were
arc
kind
as
of
it
they
goes
weren't going
over you.
straight over my head. They were kind of off to this angle, and they were just going like across the whole horizon to my.
They'll
from my
like
left to
appear
right.
to be in a straight line, but obviously if they're going over you, Bobby, that's what I was trying to talk about or mention yesterday.
It's kind of like a meteor shower, and
The sun turning and the moon
But they're
turning.
Oh, no.
fire, right?
So
it was at night too. It was
Want me
pitch
to
black.
explain
Yeah.
how that works about
well,
the
I thought
sun?
about it. Let
Okay.
me
Yep.
let me say my thinking of it, and then I'll let you
Yep.
counterpoint it. So I didn't even consider that someone may use the camera in any other fashion other than like an equatorial mount, right? Like
Yep.
I just assumed that everyone had the common sense that that you couldn't do this and then do that, right? Like you're going to get a 180 if you do that. But I think if you take your pictures and you understand that, and you either use an equatorial mount or you handle your camera like an equatorial mount, and you made a good point, because it's like, man, I just assumed.
I think it's called field rotation, and what it is if you're going to track the moon all night,
yeah,
you're going to be you're starting in the east, and you're going to see it come up over the horizon. If you're going to track it, you're going to be you want your camera to be upright. So throughout the night, your camera's going like this, it's turning, and then it's going back down to the other side. And so what that ends up doing to the moon, it turns it about a third of a turn, which is interesting because it's probably about the third of a circuit.
Yeah.
So I think I can see the moon for about a third of a circuit.
Yeah. So you don't think there's any sunspots that turn on the face of the sun like
I think they
clock
do
face?
turn. I think they do turn. But I don't think that says anything about the sun's orbiting or rotating like a sphere. I believe the sun is actually a flat disk.
Oh no, that's what I think. That's what I
it
meant.
looks
like.
That's what I meant by it. I mean,
And see,
I think
that field rotation describes to me a flat disk.
that's
Like
that was my point exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a very good point, because this is just something I noticed on my own. Like I talked to Reds Rediker about it. He's the one that told me the proper terms, the field rotation, and all that stuff. But I knew that some of that. I knew what it would look like because I've done it. And I noticed that, and so I took like images at certain times, and I was like, okay, so 5 hours is not 5 hours like on a clock would be on the moon. So I'm like, okay, so that ain't what's doing it, and I just figured that out. But yeah, I think when you see the moon coming up from the horizon, you're looking at the bottom of a circular disc, and then people are like, it looks like a sphere. I know it's a sphere. Yeah, it might look like a sphere, but look at the moon on your computer screen. I don't know if I'm not in the chat, but my little symbol is a moon.
Mhm.
It looks spherical, but
Yeah.
the screen that we're looking at it on is flat.
Yeah.
So like, just because something looks spherical, looks like a rock, doesn't mean it's spherical or like a rock.
Yeah.
So-
and there's all kinds of problems with the sun, right? It doesn't have a
There's
hot
a rock,
spot.
it would
It gets
fall.
right. Yeah. It doesn't have a hot spot. It doesn't look, in my opinion, 3-dimensional. We only see exactly 50% of it. It never varies so much as 1 degree.
They say you can see more than 50%. I'm like, okay, no, what you're doing is you're just analyzing the edges. And how could you say you could see more than 50%? You
Right.
can only see one side of it at a time.
Yeah.
So, and like, no matter where you are, you see the same moon. But if you're in the southern hemisphere, you'll see it upside down, because you'll be looking at it from the other side of the room.
Well, and then the other super damning thing that everyone should know about, I'm sure everyone does in here, is that you have Crow 777 who found the first lunar waves, but they're always seen all around the world at the same time, right? So you can't say it's your camera, because you have people all around the world. Because once he started posting his, people in other countries said, I got it at the exact same time, right? So it's like the moon is
something's
rebooting.
going on. Something weird is going on. We have so many cameras out watching at all the time. So I think that's awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
People are like, they're like, oh, the flat earthers camera of choice, the P1000, and then they act as if it's a piece of junk. And I'm like, it is a nice camera.
Yeah.
Why would people buy it? It's a huge camera, but it is very
What
nice.
do you guys think about, and possibly this is old news to y'all, but because the moon to me, I don't quite have a full grasp on. I have a few pieces of the puzzle that it's likely it's electrical of some nature. It's possibly going in and out of a fluid, like solid to us, but fluid, like of the firmament. It's obviously the same size as the sun. So I have these pieces, but my finite mind cannot. If you ask me to design a moon, I'm not capable of doing that. So obviously all my understanding of the moon is observational, and I know I'm missing a few pieces, but so this added another piece to what I'm putting together as the compilation of the moon is the craters, so to speak, in the channels that could be attributed to electrical pock marks, like a zap, like a bzz, bzz, which is consideration for me, because when you look at it, and I think that's what gives part of the visual effect of it being a sphere, is because there's the lines that you would normally attribute to a three-dimensional or rounded figure. But when you think, if you've ever seen anything electrical zap, it has that type of motion that, when I look back at the moon markings, like, oh, that, I mean, it could be.
It makes a
Is
lot more
that
sense
anything
to
that
me
y'all
the way you
considered?
just described it. It does. It makes way more sense because the craters aren't caused circular craters unless you have something come straight at it, and that's just the likelihood. First of all, if you want to go with the physics that they call the solar system has these physics that are the same as on Earth, so then you'd have to stick to that. So the moon has its gravity, but it has no atmosphere. You're not going to get anything coming straight into it. Doesn't make any sense. If it has gravity, it's going to be pulling something. It's always going to be going sideways to hit the moon. I guess there could be like a chance one, but you get what I'm saying. And here's the thing too. It's just a large scratch and snip, or a glow in the dark sticker. Like you scratch them, or you put them up to the light, and then it's like they get brighter. That's kind of what Enoch says. That it runs a race with the sun. It's like they dance in the sky together. Every 28 days, the sun comes back around, and it just happens to be where in the moon there's no light in the moon. It's like new moon is basically no moon. We can't even see it. And then 14 days from then, it's half filled up. 14 days, or no, I'm sorry. 7 days from then, it's half filled up. 14 days from then, it's full. It's full of light. And then it empties out for the next 7 days and empties out again for the next 7 days. It's filling up with light from the sun and it's emptying itself out. It's not reflecting because they're like, I don't think they could reflect. They're like on the same plane, or they're past, they're like this or something. I don't think that they could reflect.
What do you think about this? I got a question for you, Joe, Bron, Angelica, anyone that wants to answer this. Have you seen the pictures of the sun and moon, like both on the same horizon? Like I've seen some in Brazil where they're out over the ocean and you see the sun and moon both bright, which is impossible if those are real photos because the sun would be way behind the moon. I have several of the photos
sun
saved.
Setting though, is the sun setting in those pictures? Is the sun setting?
I don't know if it's early morning or late at night. I'm not sure.
Because you always have I think it would be hard to get. It's a moon that's like a sliver, right?
No, they're both full, and that's what I was saying. I'm not sure if they're real. I haven't thought it.
Fake. Because it has to be fake because the full moon is always on the opposite side of the sky as the sun. The full moon comes when the moon is full. You'll notice that it comes up over the horizon right when the sun sets, same time when the moon is full. So, and it'll be 51 minutes of a difference every day. I think 51 minutes later that the moon will rise each day. So the sun,
let me know.
Sun passes it up by that much every day. That's why 28 days ends up being one cycle of the moon, or it might be a little. What?
Joe. Listen, you're challenging me to not say what I want to say
Say
right
it.
now. As well, here's the thing: is I'm the only female on this little panel here. I don't know. I can't see the comments or anything, so I don't know how many females are listening. But in my full
There's a
expressions
cycle
while you
there.
were talking. Thank you. Do you hear? Do you?
I do
Do you
know
hear?
what you're
Do you
saying.
hear
And
what you're?
it
Okay.
only makes
Okay.
sense to me. It
It
only makes sense to me, but
matches. It does.
everything that
you know
we-
what it matches, right?
I don't
Everything
know
you
the
said.
details.
Okay,
well,
well, I'll
it-
tell you.
like-
I'll tell you without being
Okay.
detaily. So everything you said, as you're saying it, my mind is matching up in a juxtaposition
like
of
the 7 days and to make up the 28 days, like of that, or
yeah.
Okay.
So as being the only female on this panel, every key word you just said about the moon cycle, and again, I know we have the same. Who created the sun and the moon is the same person that created us, and I know, especially in the Torah specifically, there is a lot of instruction and warning given to blood. There's a lot of warnings given to life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of warnings, and everything that you said as far as the cycle, and then 7 days later, and then halfway through is full of what that is the exact same description that a doctor would give to a woman's menstrual cycle.
That's interesting.
Did you? Yeah,
Like,
everything you said.
I've never
cycle
known.
7 days.
I've never known.
So I'll tell you, I
details.
don't know if you know, if y'all want to make your wives happy or whatever, but her most fertile time is between those two cycles, which is 14 days, hence ovulation,
When the moon
which
is
would
full.
be
Like
when
if
the
you were
moon's full.
gonna compare it to the moon, it would be like when it's
Yeah.
full. That's
And that's
interesting.
the only time a woman can get pregnant. She can only get pregnant those 3 or 4 days during a month, which is halfway between the emptying of the cycle and the fullness, which is ovulation. So as you're saying that, my mind is like, it's perfect match, everything you just said.
That's it. Yeah,
which
that's interesting.
attributes to the same creator, and hence why, that makes me want to go back and look, because in the camps of Israel, when a woman was menstruating, she had to leave the camp for those 7 days
Because
she
it's
was
something
considered-
considered unclean or something like that. Like I
Correct.
know like
and it's the death of potential life in those 7
okay,
days.
yeah.
And blood has to be buried, right? And I mean, if you think about Jacob and Esau, where's your brother? Well, I don't know, I'm not my brother's keeper. Well, his blood is crying out to me from the ground. So, and I
By
mean
the
that
way,
directly.
Daniel Mayer just said blood
Yeah.
moon. Daniel Mayer just
It
said blood moon.
points to the same creator. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
all
we have a blood
Mhm.
moon with I'm sorry, Bron.
Oh, no, Pete, go ahead.
We have a blood moon when there's a lunar eclipse, and they say that the lunar eclipse is the Earth. But when every time I film a lunar eclipse, I look down at the ground and I'm like, no, that's not blocking that up there. It makes
Mhm.
zero sense to think that the sun, that the Earth is between the sun and the moon when they're clearly both up in the sky. Why would we ever think, like, people are like, yeah, that's the curve of the Earth that we're seeing during a lunar eclipse. That's the curve. And I'm like, but that can't be the Earth, because the Earth's down here, guys. The sun only what if you want to consider a way to understand it like they would teach in school, all you have to do is go in your imagination and go somewhere other than where you actually are. And then you can maybe conceive of their concepts, their ideas. And the problem with that is that we were all born with that. That was the reality that we were born into. And now we're just going, that's not true. Like I just made a TikTok today. I don't even know. My TikTok's weird. It gets some views on some videos, and then other videos it gets like four people. I'm like, come on, TikTok, put it out to at least someone. But I have videos on TikTok that have almost 500,000 views. It's like, maybe it's the video. I don't know.
or where
What?
the moon's at.
How long can you make a video on TikTok? I've never even used
10
it.
minutes.
That's it. 10 minutes. All right.
Ron has it. It depends when you upload the video based on the phase of the moon.
Yeah.
In correlation
could
with
be.
the views.
And also the most memorable parties are always on full moons in my memories.
You know what
Always-
else is
gotta be careful on the full moon. Things get a bit funny.
if you're a flat earther, you don't know how to focus your telescope. Except on, everything you can focus on the planets really good, and the moon and the sun, but stars, oh, you can't focus on stars. You're always showing how to focus stars, and I'm like, you don't get it. When you're using a telescope, you can focus it as good as it will focus. You'll get to the focus, and then if you keep going, it will start going back the other way. And so there is a place where you can say that's the most focused it can be through this telescope. And that's what I do. I try to focus it the best I can every time. But a lot of people say that. I start to show them stars, and they start to say, well, you don't know how to focus your camera, you amateur. And I'm like, I zoom in on.
Have you ever zoomed in on Arcturus? Have you ever?
Go to my
been able to
channel.
zoom in on
Can you
Arcturus
go to
or
my
Sirius?
channel? Can you go to my channel?
I'm just curious.
and play the video of Arcturus?
I will. But have you seen this? Have you seen like the divot in Sirius or the star? Arcturus has a star.
Wow.
That's part of the
What's
telescope. That circle in the middle, or those four lines, or that little divot out of the side, that's part of the telescope.
I've got video where it's moving across the video and has that in it.
Oh, then maybe I misunderstood. But if you go to my channel and you search for Arcturus, you'll see that's one of my coolest videos ever of that star. I zoomed in on it and filmed it through my my Dobsonian 8-inch reflector or whatever.
This one.
Yeah, I love seeing stars. Even if they say they're out of focus, they're like crazy.
This is Arcturus. I mean, you're zooming in, zooming out, but that thing's staying right in the center, right? I don't know. I don't think that's something from the telescope. I mean, why would it be?
Yeah.
Can I interject here biblically one more time? I know we don't want that to be too much of the podcast, but it irritates me like nails on a chalkboard.
Okay, I gotta jump out and jump back in.
Yeah.
So if you guys can hear me, sorry, I'm at again. Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. So when you
hear you.
see depictions of. Yeah, we hear you.
Well,
Just want to make sure that we miss them. Yeah, so the images of angels being cherubs or women, or that's all hokey, because if you read an actual description, they're circles with eyes on them, so it would make sense that something like that. And every time that a human has an interaction with an angel, the first thing they say is do not fear. So obviously they are a dreadful, fearful thing.
Yeah, like I think if you saw something angelic, I guess it would probably, like, almost anyone would be scared, because they're probably super powerful, and who knows their size.
Yeah, they're not babies with angels.
So look at this. This is Beetlejuice, right?
Yeah,
and
I can describe to you what we're seeing on there. That circle with those 4 lines. Those 4 lines are metal pieces that's a Dobsonian reflector right there.
Well, I've heard people say that, but how is it moving with the star, right?
He's just zooming in on it and zooming out on it.
It's perfectly. I mean, this is one that I don't know about, because
I can show you a lot of those. You can set the camera to do that, or the telescope. If you're out of focus, that's what you'll see.
Hey,
to me,
Bobby,
that looks like part of the star, because it moves with the star. Everything moves. It's traversing across the screen, but that's okay. I don't know. That one's gonna perplex me.
So a Dobsonian reflector, it's just a tube of metal. This is all it is. This is a tube of metal, and at the bottom of the tube, there's a concave mirror. So it's just a mirror that has a slight concave to it. Am I saying that right? Concave, yeah.
Like
And
bifocals?
just like if you had like a contact lens, but not so curved like the eye. It's barely at all curved. So just take a flat mirror and then like bend it up a little bit on the edges, so that what happens is the light comes in the tube through the telescope and it hits that, and it's the right angle to bounce to the focal point. So the focal point is what you're seeing in that video where there's those 4 lines and then that circle in the middle. That circle in the middle is the mirror that all the light is reflecting up to, and those 4 lines are literally the mounts that they're just thin metal that hold that center. I'll have to do a video.
I've heard the argument before, but for me, for that to be true, that those lines would have to be in the center of the video, and it couldn't track a star. Like it,
well, I think
it couldn't.
Or they could be, the lines could be just when you're looking through the telescope, like wherever you're looking, I guess.
Well, I mean, if it were something mounted in the center of a telescope, it would have to be in the center of the screen. Like it couldn't move perfectly as part of the star. I mean, perfectly. It would if it were in the center of the telescope, it'd have to stay in the center of the field of view, right? Like that's my take on it.
I think I have a video on my phone. Let me see if I do. I might have deleted it, but
hey,
I have one.
I'm gonna say Bobby and Friends. Is that fine to say? Bobby and Friends. I need to jet out of here to go be responsible and teach class. I'd like to stay here, but my students await me. So I'm gonna peace out.
Nice meeting you, Angelica.
Nice meeting you too. That was big fun.
Yep.
Good
Triangle
night,
someone for me. All right.
Good night. Got it.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if. Oh, go ahead.
I've heard that argument, but my brain refuses that because I just don't think it could stay in that star perfectly. I mean, it's part of the star. It's perfectly centered, and the notches moved like, okay, like here's a perfect example. Like, let's say you have 4 divots in the star, right? If you were moving the camera like left, like a steering wheel, right? That would affect those divots, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know what you're saying. I think I'm looking, cause I'm always taking video,
but I'm fluid. If you can send me something that, somehow explains that, but my brain is like there's no way something centered inside of a telescope that is fixed and centered can maintain.
I think I have a video of me focusing in and then unfocusing from a star.
Yeah.
I think
I can go to your channel. I just wanted to show you those. Like if you want me to go to your channel.
If you go to my channel, search for out of focus star. And I have probably a video of that. Let's see. I wish I had a picture of my telescope to show you. Let me see here. I'll find the image of it. Yeah, I think I have some playlists too, maybe of stars, but oh yeah, you can do the search thing. Yeah, check out Arcturus. It's crazy.
Where's right here? Better? Arcturus better? This one?
Oh, it's telling me I'm having issues again.
Whenever I load up a video, issues, Joe.
Is that what it is? Yeah,
I think that's what it is. It's always, and if I pause it, you come back. So
what about if you go to YouTube or you're on YouTube? Never mind. Yeah, it cut out again. So let's see here. Dobsonian focal point. I was just going to try to
Yeah, I
show
think,
you a picture of. Should I leave and then come back in?
No, I guess
I'll
as
leave
soon
and
as
then
I
I'll come
stop
back
video,
in.
it's fine. All right.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. I think it's just whenever I
Okay.
play a video, I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe I'm struggling for bandwidth or something.
That could be. My computer does very similar things.
Although it may just
So have
be,
you
Bron,
seen what?
am I out to you when I play a video?
No.
What's that?
Just me?
I'm actually going through my old pictures. I'm not seeing the video, but your voice sounds clear.
Bron
So I
seems
don't
really
cut out
quiet
when
to
I
me.
let what. This is so weird.
So I wasn't watching the
I'm
screen.
just
I
gonna see
was like
what's-
going through my photos. But
But if you
the
heard
audio
me, oh man, this is
fine. That's a bit cut. Yeah, it's cutting out a bit.
all right. A little bit low bandwidth tonight. The 100 megs. I mean,
I
that's
can
not
just
excellent, right? So yeah,
if you want to play the
maybe if
video
you
or
can share it,
whatever,
maybe it'd make a difference.
If I did.
I did play this one. I played this
You
one.
did? Okay.
It seems like, yeah. Is there another one you want me to play? I did play that. I mean,
Did you
it's
try
pretty
to
cool.
search? Did you try to search for an out of focus star on my channel? I don't know. I
me
might have.
see.
Yeah, I might. I'm not sure. Anything there?
Not in focus.
Maybe. Yeah. That's the P. That looks like the P1 or P900. I think is what probably shot that. It's like sometimes you'll get. Yeah, Brenda, I'd debate you. That'd be fun. Let's do it on Toon's channel. I was going to mention something to him, but I'm
No,
terrible at
debater
it.
here. I'll be the moderator. She knows I'm a fair moderator.
There you go.
I'll host
Yeah.
that. I'd love it, dude. That would be awesome. I would love it, man. I would love it. That would be great.
Look at that right there. That is crazy what's on your screen. So you can see the circle. Like, I don't know how the P900 works, but I do know how a Dobsonian telescope works. And if you don't have the right eyepiece or you're not the right focal length, you will see the inside of the telescope. And that's what those, it's shaped exactly like those 4 lines. I was trying to find a picture of it, but not having the best of luck.
Yeah, the thing of it is that those specific crosshairs in that circle are they're in like every Betelgeuse and Arcturus. If you look for those two, everyone gets them, and they get them when they're tracking. Like they can just leave the camera still and it'll move across the field and it'll still have it. So,
well, it would still have it. It would, because that's where the light's coming from. So it's gonna like I see what you're saying now. Like if let's say we had the telescope sitting in one spot, and we weren't moving the telescope, but we know the star rotates, and so it'll go across the viewfinder. We'll see it all. Right. We'll see the inside of the telescope all the way across if it's not focused right, and we'll see it as one point of light, because all the light's just going from one spot. Like from a point of light or whatever.
So that view, that little contraption in there, you think it would like lock on? It would lock on to the vision to the image of the star and stay centered in it as it moves across the screen.
Yeah, unless you change your focal length. If you move your camera further away or closer to that point where all the light is bounced off the mirror, because the way that video, the other one where we could see the 4 lines in the center thing, that's like they have the camera too far away or too close to the focal point. And so what happens is it'll see the light, but what it's seeing is the inside of the telescope, and all the light's coming from the inside of the telescope. So it'll see that no matter where sorry about that, no matter where the star is.
I'm open to that explanation, but for me to accept it like 100 fully, I'd
I'll
have
do
to see.
like a demonstration because I have a couple nice telescopes, and I have one of those. It's got a 4-foot focal length. It's a good big one.
Okay, that'd be cool. I would appreciate that.
And you'll
man.
be able
Like,
to see
I'm open
exactly-
to, yeah.
Because
If you
I can
can do
actually
that-
even focus it and change so you can see
Yeah.
as it changes.
I'd
So
love to see that. I would love to see that. That would be awesome.
if you search my channel for Saturn, you'll see that telescope focused on Saturn.
And it'll make
should
that
be-
hole in those lines on it.
No, it's got the same, if you look for, I think the very last one I uploaded, tried that one. Or
Looks
it
like
would
an eye?
maybe not. No, not that one. Maybe if the biggest one, yeah,
They
that
don't-
one right
one-
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 month ago.
Because they don't,
yeah, that one.
they
I
don't
think.
sort by date, which is weird to me. Why did this not go full
That is
screen?
weird.
Hold on.
So this is what it looks like through that Dobsonian telescope. So if I pulled the camera back, I could get that same circle and those lines on there instead of seeing Saturn. There's a little out of focus on the edge. And
Oh,
then
dude,
it'll
do
come
that.
into
If you
focus.
can do that for me, Joe, I would
Yeah, I will.
absolutely, I'd owe you, man. Nick, when we meet,
You know what?
I'll take you anywhere out to, I would love that. I would love that.
I just realized I always forget that I have thousands of videos on my channel. If you search my channel for telescope, you'll be able to see my setup because I've made videos on it. A couple of them, I think, or my optics, or I don't know what I would have called it. There should
Brenda,
be
we haven't
something where
forgotten about you, by the way. We're going to,
Who could forget about Brenda? There should be one that says like,
Joe,
my telescope.
we got to stream this to both, either stream it to both your alls, but I'd love to host it. I'd love to host it. Seriously, I'd be the moderator.
I would debate. I love debates. I love being in them, and I love listening and watching them too. It doesn't matter who the opponent is.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll line it up. What am I looking for?
Is there? What did you type in? Just telescope? I can't really see the screen very well.
Yeah, telescope.
Maybe write my telescope. I don't know. I could probably search my own channel too. I just really didn't think about that.
Yeah, when you got that many videos, get it.
Maybe if I say
My iPhone
can't
6,
focus my telescope. Oh yeah, that's crazy. I'm gonna just see if I can come up with the title of it or something. That's weird. I have nothing. My computer's like pretty much empty of everything, so I'm working on that. I'm working on it.
Oh, I see zooming in on Antares, and it looks.
Oh
like it's
yeah,
got those things on it.
Let's see. Oh, on to which one? Antares?
Antares.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember that one.
Antares. Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm gonna search.
Now see that I can understand. It moves. It doesn't stay exactly centered, right? That's a little bit. But let's see. Let's watch it further. Like that. I can be corrected. I'm fluid. I'm open to.
Oh, I found a link for my telescope. I got a few videos of my telescopes now that I'm looking. Let's see. How would I share? I can share the get shareable link. Okay, I think I can share it in Restream, right? Private chat. Here, there's a video. I don't know if I put it in the private chat. I don't know if that works or not.
I put that in the private chat by accident, my message. I didn't know how to message the group.
Oh,
You there? I don't know if you're.
it's clipping.
I just got a link you sent me. Let me copy the link address.
Yeah, that one. It'll be a little better, I think. And if I'm choppy, that's fine.
All right. I think this will
just,
be our last video because
It looks like it's clipping on my phone too. No audio, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch it tonight just because I don't want to have any more issues with clipping. So
Yeah.
that's weird.
Well,
I don't know why my bandwidth is loaded. Normally I'll have like 300 to 600 megabits, but right now I'm only getting 100. So I don't know what's
it
going
could be
on.
the
but
screen.
I don't.
You're like, are you screen sharing also? Or is that
Yeah.
that's just like an app that opens? Because that's probably taking up if you close those out, I bet you'll get the clipping will probably disappear a little bit.
Well, but I was trying to share it with everyone, right? That's
Yeah, I know. I hate that.
Yeah. So
That's,
yeah, that's why. So I think on some nights I have plenty of bandwidth. I don't know. It's like it's not like when I had AT&T, I always had overkill, but I'm on this TDS, which doesn't seem too impressive to me. But yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing just because I don't want to be clipping. But yeah, I'm gonna check that out, Joe. I appreciate that. I'm gonna look through that.
yeah, I think in that video that you were just trying to watch, that you should be able to see. I think I looked down into the telescope, and you can see those 4 lines in the circle thing in the middle if you watch that. But RH says Brenda is MC Tune. No,
Brenda's not. No, I've verified. Brenda is a friend on Facebook. She added me, right?
Oh, nice.
And Brenda's a very real person. I'm glad. So I once thought Brenda was a troll, and she is a real person. And I respect her pronouns, right? That's just how I was. I spent time in the Philippines, and that's normal there. So, and on top of that, I know if I say she, some people are going to be like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Right. But I even watched Ben Shapiro, and I think Ben Shapiro is mad intelligent. And he said, hey, if I go to dinner with someone, if I end up going to dinner with a, transgender, and I'm going to respect their pronouns. So Brenda's here. I'm going to respect her pronoun. Right. So I don't know, maybe Ben Shapiro's wrong
for that. I can respect your name, Bobby. I can respect that too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
If Brenda didn't make it public that was a thing, I would never know. So all I'm saying is like, if I just talk to Brenda, I'll just call her Brenda, and Brenda seems to be a name for a her. So that's what I'll just do. And hopefully there's no offense taken. And at the same time, I don't have to agree with someone to get along with someone.
Right. But so my thing is, I try to find more ways to connect with people. Like, I don't want to make, Joe, what if you and I can convert Brenda, right? How cool would that be?
Exactly. Well, that's, well, no, really. Like Brenda has Brenda's Brenda. And that's like what I always say, every one of us lives inside of this body, has to maintain it, take care of it, feed it. It's a big job, and it's a lot of hard work to live 24 hours, and we each do it. We are all very, very special and unique, and we're all different than each other. And I think that, like, as far as to like the idea of converting someone, I think that happens with it doesn't happen when someone's just like, oh, well, it's wrong for you to do that in my belief system, so I'm going to call you a him or something.
Right.
You know what? That ain't right either. That's not right either, because then it becomes something where every time you talk to Brenda, you're just going to disrespect her before you even start the conversation. Yeah. Like, from Brenda's point of view. From someone else's point of view, they might say, oh, well, but Brenda was born. And then you're just like, well, you know what? Consider the idea that you're you and Brenda's Brenda, and let that because that holds some value no matter who it is. Yeah. A person is a person, and like, to convert, the idea of converting a person, that happens from truth. Truth does that. Yeah. So you can't really share the truth if you're like just insulting someone. Right. I think Brenda would agree.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to find ways to connect and
yeah. That's why I went to lunch with MC Tune and made him pay. No, I'm just kidding.
He's a pretty cool and regular dude at lunch, though, y'all.
Yeah. I I mean, we obviously talked about flat Earth and stuff like that.
Is he a Christian? Or is he religious
yeah,
at all?
I think so. I think so, but he sure doesn't seem to believe some of the things that the prophets wrote. But that's, not for me to judge. I point them out to him and I say, isn't it interesting that Enoch saw men riding in flying machines that were so loud that they shook the foundation of the earth out of its place, and the sky rolled up and was shaking and quaking, and all the angels were even disquieted because of the noise that vehicle made that they were riding on up in the sky? It was on the winds.
Yeah.
Like Enoch saw this. He saw the heavens crumbling apart, whatever. I don't know how to describe it, but he said, and then Michael came over to me. He's like, what's the big deal? Kind of like, why are you so afraid, or why are you so distraught, or whatever? Because Enoch fainted out. He fainted out, and then his spirit came back, or whatever. That happens to like all them guys when they have such a vision. They can't even handle what they're shown. Like, just think of how we're going to handle it. It's reality to us if some of those things happen. Like, I mean, men riding on wagons up in the sky.
Yeah, and I'm ready for all that. Like, psychologically, I've been preparing, so I'm ready.
I've been preparing, but I just still don't know if I don't know. Like, to say I'm ready because it's something that I believe is being done right now. Like, that Starship program that they're doing, that's scary to me. It's like twice as big as the Saturn V. People are like, a little rocket ain't gonna do anything to the whole Earth. Like, that's not what the prophets seem to have written. I mean, a flying scroll in Zechariah, and he says, this is the curse that goes forth over the face of the whole. A curse. We were born into a curse.
Yeah.
So that's part I'm like, I'm ready, but I'm not. Could you imagine if like an earthquake or something like in Turkey, what just happened? Like, I just got the reality of it on a TikTok video in my mind. Like, I hadn't comprehended quite what it would be like to be experiencing that.
That's awesome.
The TikTok I saw was people are like walking up to like, probably a family member's apartment building thing or whatever. And then the quake happened. And so they're kind of backing away from the building, like, because it started like moving like a lot. And then it just goes boom, like so quick down. And these people just screamed because it's like they were just going in there to meet with someone, to go to lunch or to go into, and that person was in there or whatever. That's so scary because and then if you look at like drone footage of those areas, there's thousands of people under that rubble. Like, that puts the World Trade Center, rubble very small in comparison. Like, some of these things, I mean, first of all, I had to capitalize on the earthquake, because if the earth is not quaking, it's motionless and still. And this is a fact. You can ask the people in Turkey. They'll be sure to explain that to you, I'm sure, at this point. But earthquake, just the word itself, or an earthquake happening, proves to everyone that otherwise it's not quaking, it's not moving, it's not in motion. Something in motion is moving. Something not in motion is still. That we should learn the difference between something in motion, something not in motion, because it sure would change our whole outlook on stuff.
Then the argument is, if the earthquake never quits, then we wouldn't feel it. But
yeah, well, I suppose. But then it would be, then the ground wouldn't be still.
Yeah,
would it?
It's like.
Oh, go ahead,
Joe. I'm just curious. Do you ever entertain stuff like the Enuma Elish or the Atrahasis? Do you ever like entertain Sumerian history?
I haven't really looked at, like, I've been just consumed with like some of the, like, I haven't even been through all the books that I want to read.
Yeah.
Like, even.
Have either of you heard of Dolores Cannon?
The what?
Dolores Cannon.
What are you saying? the first word? Dolores or the Lords? What?
Dolores. It's spelled Dolores.
Okay, that's
Oh,
what I thought.
like Dolores. Is that
Yeah,
saying that
yeah,
right?
with
Okay.
the es.
I haven't heard
If
of
you
that.
haven't heard of her, okay, this is where all the things you guys are saying, because I went through the book of Enoch. I don't know much about. I haven't read the Bible. I wasn't raised learning it, so I don't know. I just hear from like just bits and pieces over my life, and but since I've been listening to Bobby's channel, I've listened to the book of Enoch. I actually didn't finish the end of it yet, but I got 3/4 of the way through just doing the audiobook, and it's lining up to everything she's been saying. And her story is, so she talks about all, so what she, I should, almost want to watch one of her videos. She's passed away now, but she was hypnotizing people originally in the Navy. Her husband and her were in the Navy, and she then retired from that. Her husband got in a major car accident, and she got back into, I forget exactly how she got back into it, but she got into, originally it was hypnotizing for helping people with smoking or different habits and stuff, but then people started channeling people, like, for example, so she has thousands of clients that all were telling her the same story. So she puts them in a hypnosis, and then they go into other people's lives and get messages from, like, so one of her clients was channeling Nostradamus, and other this is where I'm starting to learn about it, because she also is talking about the same stuff that the Book of Enoch talks about, but then there's all these different angles, because she's talked to thousands of people who are channeling these same messages. And it's I haven't read her book. She has many books. She's a huge name. I wish I could say I've read her books, but I've watched her interview on her YouTube. This is before, so she passed away, I'm going to guess around 70 years old or so. And so when she's on YouTube, she's not like what we're used to as a YouTuber. She's sitting on a stage in front of a bunch of people and tells her story for 2 hours. And I'm following a handful of people on throughout, like, Instagram and YouTube that are super into her books, that have read the books, and I'm learning from other people who've read the books. And yeah, she just has it's just kind of a well, I don't know if the word's miracle, but just the coincidence for thousands of people to have the same story and talk about the same. And
I think channeling is real. All that's real. I think it's very dangerous, but because I think that the other,
I don't think it's safe to let other people
the source that they approach or whatever is, in my understanding, like, I don't know, but my understanding is that those are spirits that are actually here to bring depression and to bring
and they can go every
evil
way
in men's lives,
Yeah,
like
and
the offspring of the fallen angels, like the giants, like when they were like Nephilim, when they were when their spirits, or when their lives were over, they lived like 500 years or something. When their lives were over, that they would be like vacant spirits on the earth, hungering without food, that, like, always searching, always like,
a lot of the messages were super positive, though, like trying to wake up humanity and, like, super amazing truths kind of thing. Like,
you have to be careful.
I think it totally depends who people channel, because I wouldn't want to be opened up to see what comes in.
Yeah,
I would never play with it. I would never.
I wouldn't either.
Personally,
you got your guard. I'd want my guard up, but some people, they're interested in it because they learned it has to do with trauma healing and stuff.
I think they're called familiar spirits. I think, and they're familiar with people, or they're familiar with the dead. You can learn a lot from the dead, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying that that's a thing to do, but the knowledge is accurate knowledge, I'm sure. Like, because I do believe that that's all real.
Yeah, it's really trippy stuff. Very.
The one thing that you just reminded me of, though, is in the Book of Enoch, and I don't remember where, but Enoch was kind of saying the idea like that he said, and I think he was talking about people in the future. And he's like, and they would even write their own books, like, and other than mine, like his was going to be the only book or something. It was kind of weird. Like he said, and men write their own words in books. And to him, it made it sound like that was like, because we didn't have the knowledge, like they wouldn't have the knowledge. How could they write a book?
True.
But
yeah.
I don't know. But I do think of that, like a lot of people that are authors and stuff, and they're like, would I rather read? Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't read anything else, but if I'm going to invest time into something, it's like, how do you direct your time? Because we only have so much time. So it's like, and some of the stuff like the Book of Enoch, that's time consuming to listen to that. It's like 4 hours long just to listen to it. And you really got to listen to it several times to catch, every time I listen to it or read it, I catch something new, every single time. So, but yeah.
Book of Enoch is deep. You could read that. You could, I always audiobook it right up whenever I'm working on a project.
Yep,
or like,
me too. Same thing.
I'll audiobook it, and I've audiobooked it 5 times. And every time I listen to it, just like what you said, there's so much
more.
When he starts going into like the circuits of the stars and all that stuff, and they start talking about the timings and I'm like, how could they have known
writing
this?
down
The
their
details,
order, paths, and all their names.
Yeah.
That's, how do you write that down? And the angels they helped me. They wrote it down for me. Like that's what Enoch said in a couple cases, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I like how he answers questions that people just otherwise wouldn't know. Like, when he's down in one of the caverns and he says, "Who's that making all this noise?" And the angel says, "Well, that's Abel making his case to God," because it's like, so it
shouting
tells you
out from is like because of his blood being in the ground or whatever, in the dirt. And
there's all kinds of things you learn from there that you're like questions that I had for the Bible that weren't in the Bible, and you read the Book of Enoch and you're like, oh, okay. It's like, I didn't,
So the other thing is in the Book of Enoch, it talks about that. I think it calls it the eternal plant of righteousness. And this plant would be,
he asks about it. He asked him. Yeah.
And
I remember that.
And that's the elected people that would be taught the set, or what was it? I got to look it up now.
What was was the tree of life down there too? I can't remember. If there was.
Yeah. So it's talking, okay. After that, so it's putting it into weeks. And this is in chapter 93 of the Book of Enoch. It says, and after that, in the 7th week, shall an apostate generation arise, and many shall be its deeds, and all its deeds shall be apostate. And at its close shall be elected the elect righteous of the eternal plant of righteousness, to receive 7-fold instruction concerning all his creation.
Yeah.
Like, how specific is that? Like, that's really saying they're going to receive teaching on nature, or the nature of earth. That's pretty crazy. And the nature of heaven and earth, because it's all his creation. But then it says, I like the next verse or few verses, because then it gives you an idea of what we actually know and what we don't know. It says, for who is there of all the children of men that is able to hear the voice of the Holy One without being troubled? And who can think his thoughts? And who is there that can behold all the works of heaven? And how should there be one who could behold the heaven? And who is there that could understand the things of heaven, and see a soul or a spirit and could tell thereof, or ascend and see all their ends and think them or do like them? And who is there of all men that could know what is the breadth and the length of the earth, and to whom has been shown the measure of all of them? Or is there anyone who could discern the length of the heaven, and how great is its height, and upon what it is founded, and how great is the number of the stars, and where all the luminaries rest? None of us know these things. Yeah. That's all I got to say. But it said right there to receive 7-fold instruction concerning these things. So we're learning these things, not from us, Like the reason why we're debating all this stuff on YouTube and on all these different platforms, not because of us. We're not saying that this is the truth because of us. Someone showed it to us. And like we all might have on the specifics, like Angelica was saying, on the specifics, we might have our own direction that we feel is the right, the truth or whatever. But all of us would probably agree, Jaron, everyone would probably agree that it's coming from up there, that we have found ourselves literally believing in an entirely different reality. And it's right there before us all. We live in it. Like my map, where's your flat earth map?
Mm-hmm.
It's go upstairs, open the front door, and walk outside. That is the map.
Surprise.
We live in it. We don't leave it.
How crazy is it? How crazy is it that it's so easy for us to see, right? And millions of others, right? Like supposedly there's 11 million flat earthers in Brazil alone, like 7% of their population.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And that's probably a low number, honestly. They probably wouldn't want to be too honest about it. But let's just say, how is it so easy for us to see without question, right? And then you can take someone, a friend, and you can give him you can just dump daily on him. Yep. And they just they can't even begin to see it. They can't,
It's hard to separate.
How crazy is that, right? Like,
I remember, sorry?
I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, it's hard to separate from the herd, I guess you would say. Like, I remember as I was learning, all it would take is one thing I couldn't answer. And then I wouldn't jump back and go, oh, it's wrong. But all it takes is one little question that will make you question everything.
And you see a problem, though. You're like, wait a minute.
And you're like, oh, maybe this is all wrong or something. You get like,
like even like 4 years later. And then it's like, I can't figure out this one thing. And then you
learn the answer, though. You're like, well, that is not the answer that I would have ever thought would be even possible. Like it's like totally something different than you ever would have like understood it in the other way. And those other ways, they stick to you. And as you're kind of turning and going the other way, you get like, you're like, get off. No, I can't think that way. Totally. And you're like, get off.
Yeah.
I was given Bobby different credit because one of my ones was the Antarctic sun, seeing a 24-hour sun, because I've seen videos of that. And I would just put it on the back burner because I couldn't explain it.
You're wondering how it's in a loop.
And then, Bobby called it out. It's like, well, the video's fake. And I've watched the videos like, where's the mess up? And I didn't see it. But then Bobby called it out. And it's like, oh, there you go. So,
is that the one where the cloud comes back to the same spot every day?
Yeah. It's not my find. That was
like, I've been trying to think about that. It makes no sense to me. Like,
that
can't be real because the whole thing can't be real. Like,
right. Clearly faked.
But the whole thing can't be.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how you know.
But then
it's weird.
I did.
That's like the smoking gun, right? Like they wouldn't have to fake it if it were real, right? If there were a 24-hour sun there, just the fact that video exists is one of the most damning pieces of evidence against them, right? Like they faked a 24-hour sun.
And you say though. Think about this. Bobby, it was you. You had a great analogy, or actually it was a real life example of your pilot friend on Facebook who took the initiative to kind of mislead you for your own good a little bit. He said, oh no, we do that. We tip the plane down. That's what we have to because of the curvature, whatever. And you're like, oh, okay. You're like for a second, you're probably like, but first of all, you knew that they don't, but you're like, is that how far a person goes? They feel that they're right. He believes that. Like he doesn't necessarily believe the tipping the thing down, but he's like, but that's just how we fly. But he doesn't even know that. You're like, so are they, when you're talking about this is one of the biggest subjects for me is according to the Bible, they are not people. They're not like you and me. They might look like you and me. They can take the form of a human, or I shouldn't say human. They can make themselves look like men, but they're spirits they're fire in heaven. They're spirits of like flame. They look like a flaming fire, but they can make themselves appear as men. That's in
Yeah.
Enoch chapter 17. Astronauts. Just think of, they're suspect to me, because when I look at all the people that work at NASA, Jesus Freak Computer Geek, like I talk to him every once in a while. Like I really look up to him, because I think anyone in his position with a nice career at NASA and everything that comes along with that, the respect and all this stuff, for him to, I guess the best word might be humble himself and seek out the truth. That's probably one of the bigger hurdles that most of us had to face as far as career wise and stuff like that. So all of a sudden he doesn't work at NASA. But
I haven't found his channel yet. Someone mentioned him the other day and said, I heard someone else mention Jesus Freak Computer Geek and said,
yeah,
this guy and his wife both worked at NASA and are now both flat earthers. Right?
Yeah, I'm
That's
not sure
accurate.
so much about his wife, but I know I've interviewed him on my channel before, and NASA actually called him to ask him if he would work for them, because this was like when the internet was brand new. And he had gotten interested into some kind of software or whatever, and he actually had his resume online, and they went and looked at it, and then they were like, maybe this guy can help us. So they called him, and on that phone call, he's like, oh yeah, and he walked them through, fixed their thing, and then they were like, come and meet us for lunch. We want you to work for us. So it's like a pretty cool story. But he's been in Antarctica. He's been to the North Pole. He's worked on satellites. And if you ask him, he is going to tell you the same thing that the Apostle Paul told you about this idea at NASA. The people that work there are just people like you and me. They get up in the morning. They have the same intentions as you and me. Going to have a good day, or going to try to get something done, work, make some money, whatever. All the desires that every one of us has. We're people. And if we think about all these other people in the world that we suspect of being involved, like in this elite or Freemasons or all these different categories of deceivers, right? Or of the, what we would call them, right? Them.
Yep.
If we look at those people, the ones that are like, that we know are people, that SpaceX has probably 12,000 employees. They all go to work and they build stuff, and they get excited about it, and they have YouTube channels, and they have all this stuff is real that they're building. But who goes up into the sky? Because Jesus said, no man ascends into heaven, but he that came down from heaven. So then where are the astronauts going? They're falling. They're going into a place where they have to enter sideways, and then they're falling perpetually after that. It's called the solar system. And so we've been involved in wicked, evil, and we didn't even know it. That's scary to me.
I think the number of people that would know the truth on the them side, right? Like the opposition, right? So to speak, the adversaries, I think it'd be like 0.02%.
Yeah. And according to Revelation 12, the dragon or Satan, he deceived the whole world. Everyone. Like there's no 0.2 there. Here's how I've worded it before, and you'll like this because it kind of says it. So in Revelation 12, it says that Satan deceived the whole world. That old serpent, the devil called the devil. It doesn't say, and Satan deceived almost the whole world.
Right.
But there was a few that he didn't, like that he told the truth to or something. He deceived everyone. And then that, with what Paul said, I'm not trying to change anyone's beliefs, but I am trying to at least consider something. It doesn't mean I want you to believe it I just want you to consider it. That's all. Is that if Paul was right and he said, we're not struggling against flesh and blood, but these evil spiritual forces that are in the sky, is it possible that just our very desire to go to Mars or to go into space, because it's a place, it's a universe that we can venture out into, does that maybe cause all of our desires to be wrong on the earth? Like we want to go out there when God made this for us, or where we live is here. Like people want me to think about star rotation as it being the earth rotating, and it appears to be that way because of the earth rotating. And I'm like, well, that's believing the exact opposite of the truth, the exact opposite. And Brenda shouldn't even admit it, because
everything
Brenda,
that is
the room you're in, it's not moving, it's not rotating. Even if you're in a jet and the floor doesn't appear to be rotating, the room you're in is still not rotating. That's not an argument or any kind of evidence that the earth is rotating, because an airplane flies smoothly and there's no deceleration or acceleration. Then none of that has anything to do with the evidence that we do have that the earth is not rotating. It's right.
Yeah.
We all are sitting or standing on it right now.
Yeah. Every explanation, the scientific answer is always incredibly convoluted. And the flat earth argument
opposite of truth.
Yeah. And the flat earth argument is always very simple and makes perfect sense. And one of the best examples is always going to be the selenilian, right? Like, oh, I know you see the sun over there and I know you see the moon over there, but the sun's
not
really
actually
there.
Seeing those. Yeah.
Right.
You're like, the sun's actually lower. You're like, no, it's not. It's right there. See?
Yeah. And then they have no explanation.
We know how light travels and everything. Then we're going to probably have arguments with each other about, no, this is right, this is wrong. But if we just know that, like what I like what Austin, what's it saying? The ether or whatever, whatever medium or whatever you want to call it, we can't define what that is. It's like a vacuum, or it's like water, or it's like, there's so many features to it, yet it's not even there. Light travels through it or manifests in it or of it. Like these are the kinds of things like if we said, oh, I know the speed of light and it's this much. Okay, great math. Have fun with that. But nobody knows how fast light goes, period. You can't time it. You can't film it. And there, you can do it with a slow motion camera, right? Through a Coke bottle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were taught we knew everything, like in the Truman Show. Sorry, buddy, there's no more exploring to do. Like that idea. We were taught we knew everything, and we don't know nothing.
Yeah. And another interesting thing is that my brain just went like that. That's interesting.
Oh, I probably kept rambling too long.
No, it's all right, man. It's all good. My brain will hold a concept for like 30 seconds. Above that, it's going other places.
You need to smoke more. No, I'm just kidding.
I've got nothing against anything that's real medicine. If it comes out of the ground, I don't have a problem with it.
It is. I have nothing against that at all.
What I don't want is chemical. Like those people crack me up, right? Like, did you go see a doctor and get the chemicals? Did you get the right chemicals?
You're like, yeah, I got a marijuana card.
Yeah.
Well, that's where God made all the medicine, and it comes out of the ground or out of the earth.
And we're just poisoning ourselves with electronic.
And he gave dominion. God gave Noah dominion and told him that all the herb yielding seeds were his for his meat and for, I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but that God brought it up to him that these are for you.
Check out this crap. So yesterday I started eating this apple, but I ate it slow because I kept setting it aside, and then I didn't finish it, right? And then it was sitting there for maybe half an hour, and it's like, it's not going brown. I didn't finish it, and it's freaking me out. The thing hasn't gone one bit brown. It's been over 24 hours. It's like a sponge kind of now.
That's weird.
That's not right.
I picked apples. Like at this farm that I work at, they got one apple tree that's green apples, and they're the best green apples I've ever had. But it, like, immediately when you take a bite, if you watch it, you see it go from white to brown like within 3 seconds. And so you have to eat them like right away.
And if you let them
sit
for like that, it 3 minutes, it's like you don't even want to eat it after like 3 minutes.
You look at it, you're like, I'm good on this one. Yeah.
Yeah, this thing is literally
weird.
That's like some McDonald's apple right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, put it in a box and
save
save it for 20 years. It might look the same.
Yeah, I'm tripping out about it. I buy organic a lot, but not all the time, obviously. So I'm gonna test an organic one out because like that.
Just to see, I bet you the organic.
I don't
one
want to
turns
eat any
brown
more
right
apples
away.
ever again. Like I gotta. Holy crap!
Does it taste like an apple?
Yeah, it was fine.
Then I
Yeah.
don't know. Then it's probably okay. It's one of those
Well,
things.
I think it's
kinda
the way
weird.
they all are, right? Like I've seen lots of people posting it on Instagram and whatnot,
Okay.
and people saying like this isn't right, and you always kind of, I'm just gonna ignore that right now because we already know our food system's all messed up, and there's so many things to stress about, and I'm just like, yeah. But then
Like
all of a sudden, it just happened. I
don't wanna
only ate
think
half of it,
about it.
sat there for 20 minutes, and I'm just like, ah.
Yeah, every time you look at it, you're like, aren't you supposed to be doing something?
Yeah.
Looking at
So
Yeah.
So we didn't even really talk about Revelation, but honestly, I didn't know, like I'm on my computer. It seems to be working fine, but I still don't have, I'm still like trying to get a bunch of my videos and stuff into this program that I use and stuff.
Yeah,
it's
man, when
easier to show it, to kind of go over this stuff with that, but
it was probably 2 or 3 years ago when I came across your channel, and when I came across that Revelation stuff, I thought that was the coolest stuff I'd ever, like when you started
So
showing
weird.
the dragon and the horns and bringing the fire down in front of the water, and like it was everything.
That's what got me. I mean,
was verbatim, right? Like it was like
exact.
he was talking about this time right now, and then you pulled out the frogs, which again is one of the
that's
funniest
another
stories.
one.
I'll tell that forever because I thought you
How did
lost your
that
damn
work?
mind.
But I mean, like that's where I find myself in sometimes, like, and I'm like, just think of what I knew that verse for years and years, and I never thought of it, never really considered it till a couple years ago, and I'm like, what else is like a frog?
Yeah,
Like it described these unclean spirits being like frogs.
Yeah.
What else is like a frog? I mean, a beaver?
And they are unclean spirits, right? Like we can kind of agree on that.
That's one of the reasons why I think the astronauts are sus.
Yeah.
So much. Like there's only been 500 or whatever. How many fallen angels were there? Like, I'm just saying, like, I swear that's what's going on. And then what about the Testament of Solomon? Are you familiar?
I'm not familiar with it. No.
So let me just give you the brief. Okay. So he had control over the demons that were in the air and under the earth and above the air or something like that. So the demons, like if he saw a demon or whatever and he talked to it, it had to submit to him and it had to tell him the truth, but he didn't know that necessarily. Had to tell him the truth and all these things. He had control over the demons because God gave him this wisdom or whatever. This is King Solomon that built the temple. And so, the temple was really extravagant, big, and there was a stone that he could not lift, and none of the demons or his servants could get this stone where it needed to be. So he was contemplating this, right? Well, he had sent. Okay, it has to do with like a ring, and this ring that this angel gave him or whatever, it had power over the demons. And so he would use this ring to do certain things, and he used it to bind this demon of the wind. And he saw this, it was from Arabia or whatever, because the king of Arabia wrote them a letter. We have this demon tormenting us, and it kills our cattle and everything. It blows for 3 hours every day. So he sent someone to go capture it, and he captured it, brought it back. And Solomon's sitting there one day looking at that big stone going, how am I going to get that up there? Because all my servants and all the demons, nobody could lift it up there. Well, he captured it in a wineskin or whatever, a flask or whatever. And this thing comes trotting up to him and does obeisance to him or whatever. And then it's like, he said, who are you? And I think his name was, I can't remember his name, Epiphus or something. And he said, what can you do? Because he was always saying that to the demons, like, what's your function? What can you do? And this demon said, I can shake kingdoms. I can remove mountains. Because he's so powerful. He's the wind. And Solomon said, can you put that stone up there? And the demon of the wind goes, no problem. And Solomon's like, what else can you do? And he said, so the demon right here, the demon's trying to trick Solomon, but it doesn't work. But he says, if you allow me to get my friend demon from the Red Sea, together we can bring you the great pillar. And like, you got to think of Solomon's frame of mind. He was a construction guy. He was into architecture, and like, he loved he loved a lot of things, but he loved the buildings and the whatever you call architecture, I guess, structures and things like that. And so they were trying to tempt him, saying, we got this pillar for you that you need here. You got to have, and they called it the great pillar. And so he's like, okay, well, lift the stone. And the air, the demon of the wind, lifted the stone right up there like it was nothing. And he's like, whoa, powerful demon. And so then it skips to the scene where he's like, oh, and so I sent them to get that great pillar and bring it to me. And I looked up in the sky and I saw they were bringing the great pillar. And he said, I saw it of enormous size being borne through the air. And he said, and when someone looked at the pillar, they could see the pillar, but they couldn't see the two demons carrying it because they were the wind, the demons of the wind, like they were of the wind. And so what he did, they were trying to destroy the earth, because that's what Solomon said. He said, when he saw it coming at him in the air, it was of enormous size, and I don't remember how it was worded, but he said it could shake the world in a moment of time. And then he bound them there, and he said, stay there. And then it said, and the demons are there to this day. And when someone looks up at the pillar, they can see the pillar, but they can't see the demons carrying the pillar. And then it says at the very last words in the book, it says, or almost the last words of the book, it says, and when they let the pillar down, then will be the end of the world. And then we have fire coming down from the sky in Revelation.
Yeah.
And we have they're landing these boosters now, which it shouldn't actually be a coincidence that flat earthers look at that and go, because what's happening here? There's a spiritual battle for truth happening, and the world is believing whatever. Why would it matter that they're landing rockets? Because it just creates the idea in people's minds. Well, now that they're reusable and they're more affordable, we can leave the earth in big droves on this starship and go to Mars, and it makes the dream or the lie more possible. And they keep teaching children about it.
Yeah.
And their imagination.
Yeah. And so I think what I see happening is I see a battle happening on earth and in heaven. It's like the same battle, and it's for the beliefs of the people. If we believe the wrong thing, and the way that these deceptions seem to be written about is that when you're believing the wrong thing, you pretty much typically think it's the right thing. I mean, I think that's all of us know that. When we have a belief, it's what we believe because we think that's the right thing. Well, these prophets wrote about a time where the world would be thinking that, but it would be the wrong thing. And it would be a trick from the dragon. And it was like fire comes out of the sky from God and destroys everything. And then, like, you know, they've got almost 4,000 of these Starlink satellites in the sky now. They've launched that many, SpaceX, since 2019. And I'm just saying to myself, in Revelation, there's also a plague of great hail. And it says each hailstone was the weight of a talent or something like that.
That could be all these satellites coming down. Is that what you're thinking?
That's all I can see it to be.
Yeah.
And I like Ezekiel, the prophet. He was taken up to New Jerusalem, and it said to the visions of God in Jerusalem. And what did God do when he was up there? Or it might have been an angel or whatever, but what did he get shown when he was up there? These great abominations and detestable things that men would be climbing up and putting into the temple of God. So what they're doing, they're entering into this secret place that the world doesn't even know about. The world, like, it's God's secret place. It says that in Psalm 18. He made darkness his secret place. And his pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. So God is there, but there's other elements to that darkness too. It's also a prison for evil spirits, these unclean spirits. So of course the astronauts want to go there. Like if you think about really what's happening, it's it to us, like we see pictures from the ISS, those very well might be real pictures.
Yeah.
But just think about where the source of those pictures. Oh, they're just astronauts. They're just people like me and you. They have a Nikon or a Canon camera and they're just taking it out the window with a photo, a big lens or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but okay. If we were entertaining angels, would we even know? If Bobby, what if I was an angel and I came and appeared on your channel, and I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying if I did and I appeared on your channel and I had a message that I was, and this was the form that God sent me in or something.
Yeah.
And I gave the message.
Of course not. Right.
No one would know.
No.
I myself might not even know. You got to think about it that way.
I think about that all the time. Every time I see a homeless person, I'm like, man, or not just homeless, but I think about it all the time.
Astronauts. And it even says like that after the spirits like frogs verse that he saw him coming out of the mouth of the dragon or whatever. It said these are these are evil spirits or devils that go to the kings of the earth and basically talk them into being in that battle against God. And I'm just thinking like the astronauts are the only ones that have so-called evidence of space even existing.
Yeah.
I don't think a person, a man, I don't think our body was created or designed to live in a place where it doesn't exist. I don't think there is a place where the body doesn't exist unless you're talking about like the grave or death. If you're going to go into the darkness, you might as well go to death. It's the same place. Yeah. Just because we were taught it was space, we live in a very short little period of time on the scale of time. And for us to like be able to understand some of these things, that's the grace of God. That's what that is. If we couldn't see this truth, we'd be living our other lives that we've all lived. I'm 45. I lived 37 years of my life without this frame of thinking. This frame of thinking is, and I'm going to just say this as many times as I need to. My claim, my testimony is that God, however it happens, unexplainable, God showed me these things and in the word and like Bron hasn't been in the Bible as much, but Bron sees some of these same exact things that we're talking about. How is that possible if it didn't come from God? That's
I think
once you're God is, so you could say it's Yahweh or I don't care about all that. I just know that there's a creator, and I do believe that he sent his son into this world, and for many different reasons, but in the words of Jesus himself, when he was asked why he came here, why are you here? By Pilate, what did he say? He said, for this, it's John 30 or John 18:37. But he says, something about because, was it Pilate? Yeah, he says, "Are you a king?" That's what it was. And Jesus said, "You say I'm a king." And then he says, "Yes, for this reason I came for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness of the truth." And then he said, "Everyone that's of the truth hears my voice." So think about this. What if we were set, like, I'm not saying we're special or something. I'm just saying, what if we were, when we came into the world, however that happens, I'm saying like when Bobby became Bobby and Bron became Bron and Joe became Joe, what was it that initialized that? And is it possible that that there was a reason that some of us were born into the world? We wouldn't necessarily even know it, but there was a purpose that throughout all the days we live, one of those days that purpose would be met, and we might not even know it, but we might also be changing the whole world just because of something that God put into us, before we were a seed or whatever, before we were even spoken of or thought of.
You know,
I don't know.
another thing that kind of goes in line with what you were saying is when my life changed, which is when it's like from day one when I realized something was wrong and I gradually started becoming a true earther. My life gradually got better and better and better, right? Like, and you can't sell people on that, right? You can't go, hey, dude, your life's going to get better. You know, it's going to get a lot better. It's going to get 100 times better. But I don't think there's any, you know, a lot of people in my Facebook, I still have a lot of friends there, whatever you want to call them, right? Most of them don't talk to me, but they probably feel sorry for me, right? Just like the pilot, right? Let me help this guy, right? And it's like, man, you don't know how good I got it, but you just don't know, right? It's just like this family right here, and you know,
experience it is hard to describe to someone.
The amount of love you feel in a channel like this, the community, we might have a smaller community, right? Like the adversary may have a larger team here on earth, but man, I wouldn't give this team up for anything, man. I'll be.
It's truth.
Yeah, yeah. Life just got.
I see Troubling Tribune is in the chat. I love that guy. He was saying about God, is God set, or is set just the darkness surrounding God? I think that's just one element of it. Like my understanding, and this again comes from Enoch 71, is that he was taken up to that throne, and he said it was a house there. It was like a crystal house surrounded or girt with fire, and there was like a band of fire going around it. But he said that this is what caught my attention is in Enoch, is that he said all the angels, thousands and thousands or whatever, 10,000 times 10,000, were encircling that house. And I'm like, look up. All the stars, they go in the circle around Polaris. And I don't care if you live in the south, it's the same circle.
Yeah.
You're just far away. But it's doing, like, right next to Polaris, it's going like this. But further out, it's going so big you can't even see the circle. You only see a teeny little part of the arc throughout the night. It's like, so Enoch was describing, like Enoch described the solar system too. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. He talked about those 7 stars that transgressed.
Yeah.
He said,
I remember that part.
The angel said, these are the ones, or no, he said, these ones that roll over the fire. So it's like he's describing them rolling over a fire, like being tormented by a fire or something.
Yeah.
And it said, these are the ones that transgress the commandment at the beginning of their rising.
Yeah.
So like,
and they will stay there until there's something is consummated, right?
Judgment happens or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Troubling Tribune said, darkness is a great teacher. Don't be racist. Yeah. So, you know, there's so many different elements, but yeah, Enoch he described the solar system with the 7 planets and orbiting the sun, but he asked the angel what it was, and he did not say a solar system.
Yeah.
He said,
Frank said, why was the book of Enoch
for the stars and the host of heaven?
Frank said, why was the book of Enoch not in the Bible? It was, and it still is in the Ethiopian Bible.
Like
it was removed from the Bible. Right. And that's right.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I was told it was removed, but it still is in the Ethiopian Bible.
I have a copy of a 1611 King James Bible. It's not in there, but like Second Esdras, and there's a bunch of other books that are in that Bible. So a bunch of those were removed too.
Yeah.
So
guys,
how do you know God is a he? That's just what it refers to God as, I guess, masculine, right? Is that what the right word would be? Andrew says because of his flat chest. I don't get it. Yeah, Bobby, I like your channel. I do. Like, I'm new to your channel. I did not know about your channel until like probably 3 months ago.
Yeah, it's only been a few months.
Thomas is the one that mentioned your channel, so I went and subscribed when Thomas told me. So
yeah, I made a video, like I didn't expect, like it's not like I'm wildly successful or anything, but but
You got a
to
lot of
have,
views on your videos, though.
yeah,
You
yeah.
do.
Some of them have got
Way
well.
more than I
Yeah.
get.
And your
Here's
following
what's-
watches them. It's like a high percentage.
Yeah,
Like your total subscriber amount. You got a high percentage of views.
yeah. Well, and then like
Yeah, big time.
Darren sent me one of my videos. So people are copying my videos to like BitChute and other platforms, like
And
different
TikTok
people,
and stuff.
and
yeah.
they're doing better over there. Like my
Yeah.
25 bloopers has over 10,000 views on BitChute, but it's someone else's. Anyway, it's like
They just basically they're just spreading the word.
yeah, I love
They're
it.
just
I'm like,
spreading
I
the word.
don't.
And that, like, people always say, you know, it's nice to give credit to someone if it's their video or something, and that is true. But at the same time, like, I forgot his Mike Helmick. Do you recognize that name?
Yep.
Mike.
Yep.
Yep. One of the videos of a space station glitch. I found this video and I called Mike, and then he put it out there. But you know,
Mike passed away, right? Did he pass away?
I don't think so. I hope not.
Okay.
If I didn't know if he did, but
is he the one who did the augmented reality?
yeah, it was right about that time. And
Yeah.
then if you looked at,
Yep.
it was at the end of a broadcast, and there was like 3 astronauts, and they were like this, and then it just went all weird.
Yeah,
But stuff
yeah.
like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I know the
I
exact
found
one
that
you're
at
talking
the end
about.
of a video, and I told Mike right away. I told Mike, I'm like, you got to watch this. And then he's like, oh, I'm making a video about it. He's like, do you want me to put your name on there? And I'm like, I don't care. It's not about, just put it out there, like get people to see it. But when you think about it, it's like, not about us. It ain't about like your personal life. It's about the information that you're saying out your mouth, that catches people's attention. They're like, oh, I might need to consider that. What did he say?
It's like Taboo Conspiracy said. But I reached out to Ben. Ben said, dude, use anything you want off my channel. I don't care. He's
Yeah,
like,
I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
He's out. And when, just ironically, Jaron sent it. Just not like we're talking every day or anything, but he just shot me a message because we're in each other's.
I'm gonna put your video out. Is that cool or something? I probably.
Well, no, he just said, hey man, just wanted to let you know, someone's, people are sharing your content, like not in your name.
That's cool.
But I was like, well, that's, at least it's getting well received. I'd rather it be getting out there, right? Like I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't care.
That is awesome. Like when someone makes a video and about another person's video, that can really spread around fast. And you know what it is? It's not the video or the person. It's the information being said in the video that people are like, whoa, so I need to check that out.
You know what's, it gets me so excited and so pumped up. Like I'll share this. I know this is gonna, hold on one second. One second here. So today I was just scrolling through Facebook, right? I'm just scrolling on it down. And one of my videos was shared on a Russian channel. Like, I don't know this. Nice. I don't even know what that says. And, Georgie Jitsare, that's not me. I mean, someone shared, but I saw it and I was like, what the, and it's all commented on in Russian. Right. And I was like,
you're like, I want the translation.
Oh, that was so cool. I was like, man, I was just pumped. I was like, man, I can't my videos being shared in countries that don't even speak my language. I thought that was super cool.
And
that was super cool.
Well, that's an interesting thing too, because like when I read like the Gospels and stuff, there's so much stuff in there that wouldn't have been significant to me without me questioning the shape of the earth. And things like the word truth is in there so much. Jesus came to show the truth to the world.
Yeah.
He said, if you're my disciple and you stay in my word, you will know the truth and it will set you free. He didn't say when or who or anything. He said, if you follow me, you're going to know the truth. And then there's other verses where it's like nothing that was not known will, or I don't remember how it worded it. Everything that will be made manifest. Everything, all information will be, every lie will be told that it's a lie. It'll be exposed. And I'm just thinking, what other thing could do that than flat earth?
Yeah.
So I kind of do believe that when Jesus preached in the synagogues, that he preached biblical cosmology. Now with that, people would probably, get mad at me for saying that. But if you just think about it, what did he preach in the synagogues 2,000 years ago? The gospel of the kingdom of God.
Mm-hmm.
I just learned that the kingdom of God is all those stars circling around that
Yeah.
center one. And that center one's probably like a house that's made of crystal. And there's
Yeah.
a big throne there. And all this angels are going in and out of there. Like, that's what I believe now. I don't believe in any kind of solar system or any
Yeah.
kind of distant stars or suns or whatever.
Yeah,
all
for
good.
sure. I believe that. I believe Jesus would have been preaching. I believe that just to make sense to me, right? Like he would have
Why
been.
why do you think that every time, like when he'd heal someone, like just, I don't know the literal or not sense to it. And it's not so important to me, but Bobby and Bron, and I'll say myself too, did someone like put something in your eyes and told you to go wash them out? And then when you washed them out, you could like see everything. You were blind, but now you could see it. I'm just saying, like a process that happened to me, I could call it being healed from blindness.
Yeah.
Jesus healed people from the blind, and like they had ailments and like that was more physical. But I think he's back. I think he's back. People say, I can't wait till Jesus comes. I'm like, keep your eyes and ears open, because you never know. He, what he preached got him crucified. They hated him so much.
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, I'm going to come back with this, but I'm going to send these other people, and they're going to be hated because of what I tell them.
That's what I've been hearing about.
That's exactly what he said. He said,
And
he actually, the way he worded it was, he said, I pray not only for these, but for also those who will believe on me through their word. So like the ones that he would send into the world, they had a message. And if people would believe on him because of that message, that's what he was praying to God, that would happen.
What keeps popping into my head is like tuning forks or a bell, anything that makes the vibration, how you have a strong enough vibration and the sound will move into the next one. So all it takes, you could have one large tuning fork. It doesn't even need to be the biggest. They could all be the same size. And you put one vibrating tuning fork in amongst, who cares how many, 100, let's say, and all the tuning forks are going to tune into just one. It doesn't take a lot to make a big change.
Wow. I never even thought of that.
Cymatics, I really like cymatics. I'm not obviously a professional at it, but I've watched a lot of videos, and the sound will literally make all kinds of shapes that are symmetrical.
And sound will destroy matter, won't it?
Yeah.
Like
when you see videos of the
glass, like an opera singer.
And what cool one is when you pour water in front of a large speaker, and
it makes the
water will literally zig and
zag. And
so
what is the Bible like? That's so cool though, but like it does apply in a way, because how was everything created?
Sound.
Well, it was created by a declaration. Like according to the Bible, the word of God spoke. Like he declared that something exists, and then there was no time until it did. Like he just made a declaration.
And speaking creates vibrations.
Yeah.
That's why people like music and singing. And
to me, it doesn't seem out of the picture to be like if you consider how loud the Saturn V was, or how loud the space shuttle was, and then now we're stepping it to a new level with the SpaceX, with their Raptor engine the Raptor 2 that they're doing. With this Starship they're building right now, it's an insane amount of sound that comes out of it, way more than the Saturn V. And Enoch said that it was sound that made the heavens roll up or like shake, and it said all the angels were disquieted because of the turmoil, like the noise.
And Joshua mentioned metronomes, which is, I've seen that too, which is cool because they don't really make sound, but you can still put, I don't know what the experiment's called, but you can put a whole ton of metronomes in one room and they'll eventually sync up, even though they're not.
How is that possible?
I know.
Is it just like physical? I wonder, like physical movement somehow. That's crazy.
I don't know. That's just the kind of weird magic that's going on, though. And it's there's a bunch of experiments people have done, and things will sync up.
Yeah, that's weird. I actually didn't know that with any. What was the first thing you were saying? Not the metronome, but the
Cymatics,
tuning
the like
fork,
sound
what?
vibrate.
Oh yeah,
Fork.
the tuning fork. I didn't know that was a tuning fork either. That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's why I think in the past we had a lot of big bells too. Like, I think bells have to do with healing and some sort of like sharing a common frequency amongst.
Someone shared a video with me with how in World War II they went and confiscated all the bells all throughout Germany. All these and they said it was about they needed it to make ammunition, right? But
what did they call? Oh, you guys, I don't know where this is coming from. Sorry, but I just had to interrupt you. What does a rocket engine have at the bottom of it? They call it a nozzle.
Looks like a
but
bell.
That's the loudest thing you could ever make being on Earth. There's nothing that can make a sound that loud.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And it's a bell, the shape of a bell. It's like that's insane. I never even thought of that before. You guys are out. See that? That's why I like I'm talking to you guys now, but I enjoy it just as much. Like even just listening to the conversation you guys have. And Bobby's always like, I'm not good at ad-libbing or whatever. What was it?
Monologuing. I'm terrible at it. I'd
I'm
rather,
like, yeah, you are.
I'm all about go, Joe, go. I'm just sitting here like, yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like the things you say when you're just talking, you're talking about whatever you're talking about, they hit other people because there's a reason why you're saying them. You're not saying them just because I don't like privacy, so I'm gonna tell everybody everything about my life. That's not how it is. You're like your videos are talking about
you're
you're
used to it.
And stuff,
You've gotten comfortable with it, right? Like I don't like there's this fine road you walk. There's this fine road you walk because
where people are looking at you close.
Well, you don't want to you don't want to be egotistical, right? Like that's the last thing. I'm not here for my ego, and you could be perceived as that, right? So if I just start talking and just forget about what I'm talking about, so you have to overanalyze everything you're thinking about to make sure you're not going to be misinterpreted, and to make sure that you're not doing it for your ego. You got to constantly keep yourself in check. And you don't want to waste
people's time. Like you don't want to have a disorganized stream where you're like, yeah, what was I talking about again? Oh, hold on, I got to grab my phone. That's
why I'd rather.
You're very focused,
I'd rather it be like this. I renamed all the episodes, and what I'm calling it now is Flat Talk Roundtable, right? And so we get this virtual roundtable, and it's just I like this. If you can get 3 or 4 people on, I think it's perfect because then you got a great flow like this. So anytime you want to, man, if you want to, just let me know the night. I do this every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So anytime you want to join, just let me know and I'll shoot you the link.
Yeah, I've been like busy. And my computer's had problems, and I just haven't had time to get everything. But now I'm talking to you on my computer here, and it seems to be working. I have to get some of my capabilities that I had before that I don't have now back. And I have the stuff to do it. It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
To get everything, but space smells like burnt flesh. Burnt hamburgers, just so you know.
I don't think I actually clipped. I almost did a video on what space smells like, and I was gonna add it to that trolling video.
I've got all the clips of the astronauts, every single one of them talking about what it smells like.
Yeah, me too.
Oprah,
all of them. Yeah, I don't. We probably have some of the other ones that doesn't have, but yeah, I got as many as I could.
Okay, here's some of the things that they say smell like all different astronauts: burnt cookies. Brimstone, like a witch's.
That's Chris Hadfield, right? Yeah.
Yep. Like what a choice of words.
Yeah.
And he's got this grin. He's like, it smells like brimstone, like a witch has just been there. I'm like,
yeah,
you into that?
Exactly.
Huh?
Yep.
Great. And then there's like spent gunpowder.
A metal shop. That's what's his name? Don Pettit.
Like a high alkalinity or something like that.
Burnt steak. I think I might have said that.
Burnt steak. The one I got on my channel, the most recent one was, it smelled like cooking hamburger to me. That was a woman that said that. And the guy in it was in crew, whatever the first Dragon Crew Dragon mission that just flew with Doug and Bob, or Doug and Bob, they're on it. There was like a test one, sort of, but they did have 2 astronauts on there. And they said when they got up to the space station, they said the vestibule had a lot of space smell in it. But
Yeah,
the
like
Dragon would.
what are you going to
I
smell
know,
in
like,
space? You can't smell. There's nothing.
2 things. If space is what NASA says space is, then there's no smell.
Yeah.
Maybe it
Yeah.
depends
That's
what they
not
put in their air
difficult.
tanks.
Right.
Well, so
Or
then
just
what they
change
say
it
when
up
they
on
want an
them to
explanation,
mix
they
them
just
up.
say, we don't really know what it is, but it's a really cool smell. It's space
Right.
smell.
Yeah, because I
Only-
took my helmet off in the vacuum, right? That's what I
Yeah.
did. I went outside and took my helmet off, and I was like,
Maybe
"Oh, that's what it
someone's
smells
trolling
like."
them and putting different smells in their canisters.
And then
Right.
they say, oh, it's probably the off-gassing of the materials that the suit's made out of because it's never in that environment.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
heard that one too.
off-gassing can't happen in, like, if you like this pressure thing again, there's laws of physics. You could, like, how do you have off-gassing coming out of material in a vacuum that doesn't happen right away?
Do you-
Wouldn't
do
it
you-
happen
breathing
immediately?
that in?
Do you know what the thickness of have you heard what them say the thickness of the hull of the ISS is?
Oh, it's like aluminum. That's like,
Tinfoil?
first of all, it's aluminum, right?
1/10 of an inch. It's
Yeah.
like,
It's like
can you imagine? That's,
cellophane from a cigarette pack.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
1/10 of an inch. That's like
And this
the
should
thickness
tell
of a
people,
dime or something, right? It's crazy.
this should tell people that if they're in a place that's empty, okay, there's one thing to remember about it. It's empty. Like, they're going reportedly 17,000 and a half miles an hour, 17,500 sideways. They even say that they're going parallel with the surface of the earth. So, by the way, Earth's flat, so they're just going boom, they're just flying circles above the earth. But that's a thing, though. We can look at the ISS. I can film it. I've filmed it, and you see the solar rays and everything. But are there people in it?
I don't think so.
Are
I
there
don't think it's-
are there people living in it if you are deceived? Well, yeah, Bob, we got Chris Hadfield, we got tons of different astronauts. We can listen to what all they say. They're sus, you guys. Look, like, just consider that.
Yeah.
The astronauts.
I'm
are the
talking to
only
you
ones
right
that
over
go
here,
up.
right across the US from where you are now, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think, and we don't have the capability. We destroyed that technology.
Yeah.
Because that's what we normally do as human beings. We don't stand on the shoulders of giants. We just destroy it. Yeah, we don't need that anymore. Whoops, I'm hitting my mic.
Have you guys
Really?
seen
Yeah,
the,
it's ridiculous.
have you guys seen the
So-
Go Fast Rocket Hit Sky Firmament video on
Yeah,
2014 or 2016. I can't forget if it's 14 or 16. Yeah. They claim
It's
it's a
like-
yo-yo D-spin, but
and you know what? That Kai Michelson or whatever, I think he's local where I'm at. He lives in Minnesota, I think. But I think that it's all legit. What they do is just like that. There is a D-spin mechanism,
yeah.
but I don't guess what I'm saying is, okay, so let's just 2 scenarios, but it's actually just one. Bron has eyes to see, Bobby has eyes to see, this ability to make sure that you're perceiving what you've been told you're perceiving, like that idea. And there's a Go Fast Rocket, this guy named Kai and his rocket club, they do it. They put all their mechanisms in there, the parachute, the cameras, and they launch. They do all their stuff that they're trying to do. They break their record or whatever. And then to them, it was exactly the hardware they put on it and all the stuff that they did. But to us, we go, would that just hit? That just hit something. They're like, no, that's a D-spin. You're like, no, but it just, did you see that? Like, did you see the footage? Something ain't right with the, but how can it be that Kai Michelson's over there with his kid making memories in their rocket club, building a little rocket that beat some record and made it 73 miles or however far in like a crazy amount of time. And like, first of all, that's how rockets would launch. So these Falcon 9s and this stuff that they're launching, the space shuttle that take off so slow,
Yeah.
Yeah, I always wondered about that.
Kind of-
That's the kind of
but
stuff that
that's
always
kind
freaked me
of-
out.
What is it? God told Ezekiel that therefore have I set it far from them. That's the height of technology. It's like top fuel drag racing. If you ever watch the tires on those cars
Mhm.
will go like, I might be off, but
Yeah.
they go fast, and they go like in the matter of 4 seconds, they're up to like 300 and something miles an hour. Everything has to go perfect, first of all. And it's a competition. There's people going against people, and they just are, they're right. You know, they have rules, but they can't, when the rubber hits the road, literally the Goodyears, they hit the road or whatever. There's no height of technology that we've reached that's above that at this point for rubber meeting the road. Rockets are the same way. They're the height of thrust technology. Like we have commercial jets with that kind of jet engine thrust, and like fighter jets. Rockets is at all. It's a step way higher.
Yeah.
They
like
can push against empty space.
well, it's basically that. Yes, but I'm not saying that that's what's happening. I think what's happening is,
Well, I'm saying
Um,
sarcastically.
no, I
'Cause how
know,
do they
but I
move?
think
Yeah,
really
yeah.
it's simple. If I had a gun and I shoot it, bullet goes that way, recoil goes this way. That's all that they're saying a rocket is. So when they have a billion explosions, well, part of the explosion goes this way, the recoil goes this way.
But
and
it's
they
a
just
gas.
continue. That's what
But it's a gas instead of a solid object with mass.
And that's the thing too, is they say that it's space like a vacuum, yet they have RCS thrusters that will reposition your rocket.
Right.
Well,
Right.
if you watch those thrusters, they just go, phew. They just expand into, like, that's not a vacuum. That you wouldn't see it in a vacuum, like not like that. So like if you watch the Dragon approaching the space station, to me that's just the end times deception being carried out. Like these little horns going up to this beast and giving it the power and strength and dominion that it stole.
Yeah.
And like this is in the book of Daniel, chapter 7. He sees that happen. And I do have to say this. In that story that Daniel saw, it didn't look good for the saints of the Most High. Like they were being deceived by this horn and this mouth. They were speaking great things. They were being prevailed against. But I don't know the details, but at some point in time, they took his kingdom away. So it was the saints of the Most High that took away the kingdom and dominion that those beasts held. And when I think of that, I just think, well, if these beasts are the stuff we see up in the sky, like these stars, which are wandering stars, like the space station, it doesn't matter if men built it. Men also built the Tower of Babel. Same, like it can be against God and still be built by men. And I'm just like, well, I think we've reached the time, because we've started flying like 100 years ago. And we've reached a time where we have erased God and his dwelling place. And I think we're just on the tail end of, of being shown like the grace of God, like saved by the grace of God. Okay. Anyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. The Bible says these things for a reason. And it's starting to make sense to me more and more, like how it's a real thing. Like the grace of God. Well, if we were born into a deceived, wicked, and evil generation, but we didn't know that because we were just learning about Mars and, spaceships and George Jetsons and Star Trek. We grew up on that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was born, they already went to the moon. So when I was playing as a kid, it was normal. We already went to the moon. It was just a thing. But then all of a sudden I find myself 37 or whatever, 8 years ago or whatever. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We didn't do any of that. None of that. That's all, like something told me, and it wasn't like YouTube, but it was brought up by YouTube. That's where I heard about it. It was on YouTube. But I think God's doing it.
When I was a little kid, when I was like 12, I prayed to aliens, right? I'm serious. I sat in like meditated and thought if I could send out signals into space that they'd come pick me up. Like I wanted to go explore space, right? And I was like, and it's my parents were taking me to church, but I couldn't reconcile church with space, right? Like I'm like, come on, man, we're just planets, galaxies, and you're telling where's God and all this, right? None of it
like
made
the real
sense.
part. And then when you go to church, you're like, but that you kind of had this idea that, well, this is all wrong, but I'm going to listen anyway, but it's all wrong, you know?
Yeah. I figured we were there for morals, right? I'm like, all right, I get it. We're here to learn not to steal and whatnot, you know, but as far as like believing in the Bible, I couldn't, because I was like, where's God with aliens? Where are aliens in the Bible, right? Where's all these other, you know, millions of species, and why is he not on those planets? Why did everything take place here? Nothing made sense. You can't reconcile it. So, and then you had
God
evolution, you had Big Bang.
God still says that his throne is up in the sky and that he looks down on his creation.
Yeah.
You're saying the Bible's always said that. And I finally actually believe that, which is weird, because I'm like, my family don't, my dad don't, my close friends, some of them do, some of them don't. But a lot of people totally disagree with me. And I'm like, well, but this is real to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's a testimony is important, but it doesn't mean we always can feel like we're getting the point across, because some people might not receive it. Maybe be like, well, that's you know, but
the moment you realize the true nature of the place that we occupy, the Bible instantly, like as soon as you start going down that road, you're like, hold on, wait a minute. All of a sudden, everything got a whole lot more plausible, right? It's like, that was the first thing I realized. It was like, wait a minute, if this is probable, then this is probable. And then you start reading the Bible, and then you start, and then
you start saying, what if? Like, what if, let's just say all this was like literally true, like what we're reading, that's what happened. Like, who knows? But what if?
Yeah.
And then you start looking all those things of the future, the foretellings. Jesus said, he said, when he sends the Spirit of truth, he said, even he, the Spirit of truth, he will guide you into all truth. And then he would show you things to come. Like, it's a claim. And I'm finding that claim to be more true than I ever would have expected it to be. And time will tell, you know, we never know.
Yeah. And then, so I remember the day I started searching for proofs of God and proofs of Jesus, right? Like I never would have done that with the belief system I had. And then you start learning. You
were like, it was called into question because of like your realization of some of these things that people are questioning. You're like, well, wait a minute. If that was the case, that would mean, and there's all these other implications that you find yourself, I think, believing, or not believing, but knowing that God made you.
Yeah.
And
I know that's
written in Isaiah.
Yeah.
He wrote that he said that you will know that I am he.
It's without a doubt, right? It's the one thing I can count on for sure. Absolutely, unquestionably. I know
we can have a silhouette.
I have a creator. Yeah.
We can have a silhouette of what that looks like. Like people are arguing the Trinity, or they're arguing all these kind of topics. And I'm like, I stay out of it because I don't claim to know the things I don't plan on knowing. Like there's things I think that I don't really want to know. Like if I could see God and see Jesus sitting at his right hand, like Stephen did when he was being stoned, he's like, I see him sitting at the right hand of the Father. If I could see that, that would be awesome. But until like that, Stephen was done. Like, I don't think during my life I'm going to be able to know what that looks like until his kingdom's here. And this could very well be a part of that kingdom coming down. God did say many times in the Bible, all over the place, he's talked about, I will take you from among the heathen and I will place you in your own land. And I'm saying, maybe that's flat earth. I don't know. True earth, right?
You know, the last problem is that the moment you accept Christ and a creator into your heart, right, you realize that there doesn't have to be an explanation for everything also. Like now it's like, hold on, wait a minute. When I was an atheist and I believed in science, I believed that everything could be explained, right? But the moment you have a creator, that's infinitely more intelligent than you and infinitely more powerful than you, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, omni everything, right? You don't have the right to understand everything. If he wants to make a sun that we can't understand, that's a no-brainer for him. And if he wants to make any part of our cosmology inexplicable, it's very easy. So
and then like even sending his son into the world, like people act as if they, oh, I'm born again, I'm saved, and like they talk like that. Some people do, not everyone, but to me, I'm like, that's something that you'd hope for. You'd hope to be saved. You hope to have that people talk about being born again. And I'm like, honestly, I kind of feel like I've been born again. I feel like I'm like a little toddler right now, just trying to learn what my papa wants to teach me. Like, that's real, because I was wrong before. I was wrong. I was believing the wrong thing. And what is repentance? Turning away from what you just found out was wrong and going the other way.
Yeah.
That's, I think, like, it says that a bunch in the vision of St. Paul. It says it like countless times that God would rather wait more time to allow everyone to repent than he would to that they should do anything. He wanted to wait till, like, I don't know how that works, but that it's his desire that everyone repents and turns away from what he reveals to be evil. I'm like, it's hard to understand what's evil, I think. Sort of.
Joe and Bron, my kids are ready. My daughter's ready to go to bed. My wife's like, hey, it's 10 o'clock. So I got to
We're
wrap
not done
up
here, Bobby T and Bron. I love hanging with you guys. It's awesome. I want.
Yeah, I could do this all night, but I'm serious, man. I honestly can.
Sometime though, we will soon. I think.
Just let me know. Just hit me up when you have time and you want to jump back on. You're always welcome.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you back. I wish you could, come hang out regularly, man. That'd be so cool.
A little bit more of some of the stuff that I've been learning is like crazy stuff.
Yep.
In this world's crazy.
It is crazy. If you make it this way, you got to stop by. Let me take you to dinner. If you need a place to stay, whatever.
Where are you at again? I forgot.
I'm in South Georgia, but
South Georgia. Okay.
Yeah.
I met up with someone named Graham that lived in Georgia when I drove through there one time. A flat earther.
Yeah. If you drive through South Georgia, I'm just above Jacksonville. So if you're coming through this way, let me know. We'll grab dinner or whatever.
Maybe that'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And if I'm up that way, I'll hit you up. But
Bron, you're out in Washington?
British Columbia, Vancouver, British Columbia.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So
all right. Well,
right on.
You guys.
We'll do it again soon. We'll do it again. Just hit me up and let me know. I'll stay in touch with you. Let me know when you got time. I know everyone enjoyed it. We had a ton of messages. I'm sorry I couldn't get to them, but I was entranced. I was listening to Joe and learning, guys.
I think we can all learn from each other, just having conversations. So
yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll do it again soon.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Ciao.
See ya.
Take care, everybody. See you.